2 minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Two minutes remaining. One minute, 30 seconds remaining. One minute remaining. Forty-five seconds remaining. Thirty seconds remaining. Fifteen seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds.
To the Hick at Night Show. Here's Ryan Hickey.
And welcome on in to Hick at Night with you right here on CBS Sports Radio, an Irish edition of Hick at Night on this St. Patrick's Day. A happy St. Paddy's Day to you, really a happy St. Paddy's weekend to you, right? Because even though today is March 17th, on a Sunday, no one's going to wait, to celebrate just today. A lot of festivities, including from yours truly, got started yesterday as well. So whether you celebrated yesterday, whether you celebrated today, whether you celebrated both days, whether you still are celebrating being Irish or just the overall Irish heritage or just using it as a day to have fun, be outside, and drink a few cold ones, anyway, anyhow you are choosing to spend your weekend, first of all, hopefully it's safe and fun. Second of all, thank you for choosing us to spend some time with right here on CBS Sports Radio. A very exciting show for you today because not only is it St. Patrick's Day, which is one of my favorite holidays, it's also Selection Sunday, and now we finally have the field, the 68 teams that will be now competing for a national championship. We got you covered all show long here. Brian Bennett, 40 minutes from The Athletic, will come on, give us his biggest thoughts from the reveal. See which number one seeds are in trouble, who has the easiest path, who could be wearing Cinderella's shoe this year after a few teams have kind of taken that mantle in previous years. A lot going there. We'll give you my picks as well in a few minutes. But we're one to start this, we'll say NCAA tournament coverage is right here. I think the biggest storyline of the tournament is how Purdue does. Following the Purdue Boilermakers as they finally try to get over the hump and get to their first Final Four under Matt Painter. And it just so happens that Purdue, to me, is not only the biggest storyline, they are also the team I trust the least. Another year where they are one of the best regular season teams in the country, and I think another year where even though they have a number one seed, I think they are going home early. Like right now, the bracket I have McNeese State beat them in the Sweet 16. Another double-digit seed knocking down the Purdue Boilermakers. And if I'm right, if we're sitting here and Will Wade and McNeese State knock off the Boilermakers in the Sweet 16, or really, if Purdue falls anytime before the Final Four, doesn't matter to who, doesn't matter when, if they don't make it to Arizona and are competing for a national championship and making the Final Four, Matt Painter's got to go. Like, you have to fire your head coach. Don't care that he's number one seed. Don't care that, again, Purdue has been at the top of the regular season rankings. They have to break through. Because if not now, it's never going to happen. It is never going to happen for Purdue. Look at all the advantages they have going into this year's tournament specifically. Number one, you have elite talent. Right? You have a guy in Zach Edey who is, again, a finalist for the Player of the Year award, already won at one time, leading all of college basketball in scoring, a rebounding machine as well. You got one of the best players in the country, and maybe outside of one or two games, you will have the best player on the court on your team in any and every matchup you will have in the next few weeks. So you have a stud. You got a very experienced team. I mean, this is a well-oiled group where there's not been a lot of changes. The faces are very familiar. And you have the easiest road right now to the Final Four. I mean, you look at right now who's in their bracket. 2 seed is Tennessee. It's very similar to Purdue. A team led by Rick Barnes can never really get over the hump and win the big game. You got Kansas right now who's banged up and really dragging into March Madness as well. Creighton as a 3 seed, they're beatable. Like, in terms of like what UConn got, what Houston got, even what North Carolina got, like a lot of the other 1 seeds got tough draws. I would say from the number 1 seed specifically, Purdue has got the easiest road. It is made for them to be in Phoenix in a few weeks from now. But despite everything I just said, best player, cohesion, experience, easiest road. Despite all of that being said, I don't see a way that Purdue's in the Final Four. I don't see how they get over the hump and actually do what they are supposed to do and win games. And the biggest reason is because their head coach, Matt Painter, has constructed a team that doesn't win in March. They are not built to win in March. They are built to win in the Big Ten, where you can beat Michigan State, you can beat Illinois, you can win the Big Ten regular season title, you can win a lot of games in the regular season. But come March, where you need a certain style, when you need a certain mentality, Purdue is not built to win games during this time of the year. And so let me ask you then, what would you want from your team if you were a Purdue fan, or if Purdue, if your favorite college basketball team had the same issue Purdue does? Great regular season team, horrible in the playoffs. Dallas Cowboys of recent years maybe is a fair comp. Would you want a team that's built to win regular season games, is in the mix every year, but then come playoff time, flops? Or do you want a team that, if they do make it, is built to go deep, make deep tournament runs, and compete for a national title? I want teams that are built to win a national title. And Matt Painter now, in his time at Purdue, has not been able to construct a team that can actually truly, be built to win it all. And so if we, as a society, or we'll just use one big generalization here, but we watch sports, right, for championships. There's not a lot of extensions, contract extensions, that is. There's not a lot of praise for players and coaches that do well in the regular season and then fall short in the postseason. They get penalized. They get scrutinized. We never, ever, look at regular season success being more important than postseason success. So if you are now Purdue and you now have a team led by a coach who is great in the regular season, can't get over the hump in the postseason, why would you bring him back? Why would you run it back? That's why I would fire him. If we are sitting here talking about anytime in the next 2 weeks, Purdue losing First game like they did last year, Purdue losing in the Elite Eight. Fire 'em. You have to now, if you're Purdue, get away from, we just want to win the Big Ten, to we got to win a national championship. We have to build a team that can compete this time of the year, not just in January and December. And so that's why, I look at Purdue. They are, like I said before, they're the team I trust the least. I was shocked. I don't know about you, but watching the bracket reveal show on CBS, I was shocked to hear the trio of Seth Davis, Jay Wright, Clark Kellogg, three of the smartest college basketball brains we have in this country. All three of them picked Purdue to go to the Final Four. I couldn't believe it. I could not believe what I was watching. I'm sitting there saying, what are they saying that I'm missing? I feel like every year with Purdue, it's the same song and dance. This is the year they're going to finally break through. This is the year they are going to live up to their regular season success and win a championship. And at what point do we got to say, it's not going to happen? This is a Purdue team that it's not like they're losing to teams that go on to win the national championship every single year. They're not close. Come March, they are not close. Look at their recent tournament success under Matt Painter. Let's just go back 1 year. Do you remember what happened last year? As a 1 seed, becoming just the second team ever to lose to a 16 when Fairleigh Dickinson beat them, a team that a lot of people picked to go to the Final Four. One and done. That's not the only time that they have failed to live up to expectations. This is now the 9th time in 16 years that Matt Painter's been on the job that Purdue has had a top 4 seed. And in that time, despite having a very favorable seeding, and again, more times than not being favored in the matchups you are playing in, that has resulted in 0 Final Four appearances, just 1 Elite Eight appearance, and 5 losses to double-digit seeds. What can you see that is different with Purdue this year than any year in the past? I don't see anything. This, to me, is the same team. Some of the faces may have slightly changed, but everything else is the same. And this has been a team year after year where people buy in, pick up to go deep. Oh, they're a number 1 seed. You know what? This year they're going to break through and win and play well. It ain't happening. Even with all the favorable measures going in their way, even with a relatively easy Midwest side of the bracket, I don't see how you can honestly and seriously sit there with a straight face, whether it's money or just for fun, pick Purdue to go to the Final Four. I don't see how you can do that. This is a team that has consistently been built to lose in March. Now, I'm learning my lesson. I'll be honest. I'm a very stubborn person. I try my best here. This is like the radio. Let's go behind the curtain. The radio I try to give you is like my honest opinions. Right? This is not like contrived. This is not, let me just say this because that will rile people up. Everything I say to you, I truly believe. And so I'm not going to sit here and try to waffle on a game or sit here and just say, screw it, whatever. I'll just say this and then say, you know what, maybe I was wrong. So I am stubborn because everything I try to say, I try to do, exhaustive research, try to make my case here as why you should agree. It's never just half-assed or made up. And so that's led to me saying, okay, this has to happen. So I'm just going to keep on hoping, and also being an eternal optimist, I was kind of hope that things one day will change in my favor. So it's I never really, or it takes me, I should say, a long time to change my opinion on something. And Purdue has been a team that for a long time I've believed in. As a Penn State alum, I've seen a lot of Purdue basketball over the years. I've seen a lot of Purdue basketball kick the crap out of Penn State. I've seen plenty of big men from Purdue dominate, win Player of the Year awards, be some of the best players in all of college basketball. But now it's time for me to drop my stubbornness, and I am. I've learned my lesson. I'm not believing in Purdue. Purdue, to me, is the college basketball equivalent of the Dallas Cowboys. I will never, as long as I am alive and speaking to this microphone, I will never sit here and truly pick the Cowboys to win anything, postseason-wise. They, to me, have to prove it. They have had too many opportunities and fallen short too many times for me to actually believe that things are going to go in Dallas's favor, especially when nothing really changes. Purdue now, to me, is that same case. I can't see Purdue making a deep run, and if they don't, I don't see how you can bring their head coach back. There is no coach right now, I think, with more pressure on him than Matt Painter, and to me, the biggest storyline of March Madness is Purdue. Can they finally break through? My answer is no. Because to me, believing in them, sitting here and trying to sell you that they can go to the Final Four is the definition of insanity. Ain't no way. Ain't no way. When it doesn't happen, when they lose it, first round, second round, Sweet 16, Elite 8, does not matter. You can't bring their coach back. I'm curious your thoughts here. 855-212-4227. 855-212-4227. Which team do you think, in your opinion, now that the tournament is set, has the most pressure on? Which team has the most pressure to impress this March? For me, I think it's Purdue. What do you think? 855-212-4227. 855-212-4227. We are on social media at Ryan_Hickey and the number 3. We are on YouTube as well. CBS Sports Radio is the YouTube stream where we are currently right now live on video. So if you want to watch a show, CBS Sports Radio is the YouTube channel. While you're there, if you haven't already, make sure you hit the subscribe button. And you can watch the show, join in the comments as well, give your thoughts. So a lot of different ways to weigh in today on the show. And I'm curious now as we finally get set. We got the brackets, and now we can look forward to what is going to be some of the best weeks of the year. Which team do you think has the most pressure as we get set to enter March Madness? 855-212-4227. 855-212-4227. We'll get your thoughts. And also when we return, come on, we can't go any further without giving picks, right? That's what people want to talk about. Who's going to the Final Four? Who's going to the national championship? Who is raising the trophy a few Mondays from now in Phoenix, Arizona? I'll tell you my pick when we do return. It is Hick at Night. Ryan Hickey with you right here on CBS Sports Radio.
You're in a 5-minute break. Four minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Four minutes remaining. Three minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Three minutes remaining. 2 minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Two minutes remaining. One minute, 30 seconds remaining. One minute remaining. Forty-five seconds remaining. Thirty seconds remaining. Fifteen seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds.
This is Hick at Night. Here's Ryan Hickey.
20 minutes from now, Brian Bennett does a tremendous job covering the sport of college basketball for The Athletic. We'll hop on here, give us his thoughts as the bracket has finally been revealed. Which number one seed is in, the most danger of going down early? What Cinderella team could really kind of captivate the nation over the next few weeks? Brian will help us break it down here. 20 minutes from now, that is 10:40 p.m. Eastern, 7:40 p.m. Pacific. But between now and then, I want to give you my thoughts, also get yours as well here. The biggest storyline I am watching is the Purdue Boilermakers. Another year where everything on paper says they should be a real national championship contender. Yet everything I've seen this time of the year says, no way, Jose. I'm not picking them. This is a team where I think, yet again, despite you could argue this being the easiest path to the Final Four they have had in recent memory, I'm still not picking them to make the Final Four. And if I'm right and they fall short, I would fire Matt Painter because this team, in his eye, is not built to win in March. The Purdue Boilermakers are the team I trust the least right now heading into Thursday's action. On the flip side, the team I trust the most, the team I think is getting it done, are the Houston Cougars. I'm in. This to me feels like their year they're going to get it done. I think Kelvin Sampson, after years of heartbreak, years of coming up short, is finally going to break through and win that national championship. Number one, this is a team that is insanely battle-tested. I think part of being successful in March Madness is being comfortable under pressure. These games are massive. Everybody's watching. And Houston has really gone through the gauntlet. Big 12, going from the AAC to the Big 12, no problem. They win the regular season. They have 16 quad one wins, most in the country. Tons of leadership, elite defense. They, to me, check every single box you need a national championship contending team to check. I know they lost earlier last year as a number one seed. They had some injuries as well. They're healthy now. I like Houston. They are my team. I like the Cougs. I think they are winning the national title. Joining them in Phoenix, the other three Final Four teams I have. UConn, I think they are getting back, despite the fact, we'll get Brian's take on this in about 10 minutes or 20 minutes or so. I mean, UConn, despite being the number one overall seed, I would argue has the toughest road to the Final Four. Where in your side of the bracket, you got Iowa State, you got Auburn, Illinois is another team I like as well. Like, that's a tough road for the Huskies to go back to the Final Four, but they are legit. They've shown no sign of slowing down since winning last year. I think they get back to the Final Four. Joining them is number 4 Alabama. I love the offense for the Crimson Tide. They can shoot the lights out. They're one of the top scoring teams in all the country. I'm going with Alabama to ride the hot offense to a run there and make the Final Four out of, the West region. And then joining number 1 Houston, joining number 1 UConn, and joining number 4 Alabama, number 12 McNeese State. That's right. McNeese State, baby. Let's go into the Final Four. Will Wade is their head coach. He's a really good coach, whether he's breaking the rules or not. He is he's a guy that I like. And also, too, like, you look at their road. You look at the road. Like, this is in the same region that Purdue is in. There's not a lot of teams I trust. Kansas, banged up. Tennessee with Rick Barnes has failed to win the big game. Now, Dalton Knecht being healthy and out there is going to be huge for the Vols, but still, Rick Barnes has been known to choke a game or two, and that's no slam dunk whatsoever. Again, Purdue is in there, Samford, Kansas. That to me right now, this Midwest region feels wide open. So screw it. Let's get nuts. McNeese State, already a popular team to take down number 5 Gonzaga in their opening matchup. Let's have them run through the Midwest, go to the Final Four. So my Final Four, number 1 Houston, number 1 UConn, number 4 Alabama, number 12 McNeese State. 855-212-4227, 855-212-4227. You want to call your shot? Who's winning the national title right now as March Madness is getting set to tip off? That is the number to call. But also, too, we're talking about pressure. Which team has the most pressure on them as we get ready for some of the best weeks of the year, college basketball-wise, and really all sports-wise? I think for me, it's Purdue. It's really, honestly, Purdue and not close. Every single year, they have had a great regular season and have fallen short in the postseason. They have to make the Final Four, or I don't see how you can bring their head coach, Matt Painter, back. 855-212-4227, Ryan_Hickey, and the number 3. Let's start off going to Anthony in Pittsburgh. What up, Ant?
Do you think you're being a little harsh on Painter here, or do you think that it would be justifiable to fire him if he doesn't make the Final Four?
I think it's very justifiable. It sounds like you disagree.
Disagree full-heartedly. So let me break it down a little bit on why I disagree.
Sure.
Okay, he's been there 19 years. He's won the Big Ten regular season 5 times. Recently, he's gotten it rolling.
Yep.
He's won the Big Ten title in the tournament twice. It ain't easy to win in March. Nobody ever said it is. That's why they pay him the big bucks. Now, here's the key here. Jay Wright really didn't win much at Villanova till late in his career. Sometimes it's just about catching the hot hand. If they fire him for not making the Final Four, I mean, it almost reminds me a little bit of Jamie Dixon at Pitt. Jamie Dixon couldn't win in March for Pitt. Couldn't win big, I should say. Pitt fires him, it imploded their program. You talk to any Pitt fan, they would do anything to go back in time and not fire Jamie Dixon. And I think everybody at that time agreed, hey, it's probably time for Jamie Dixon to go. At the end of the day, it's really tough to win in college basketball. He has the recipe. He has the formula. March success will come. At least I hope so for him. I don't have them going to the Final Four this year, but I don't think you can get rid of him. He has Purdue rolling. He has them in position yearly, and that's all you can really ask for. Sometimes it's just catching the hot hand. Do you agree?
Yes or no? Anthony, thank you for the call. Here's why I disagree in the sense that I don't think I'm being too harsh. You could say, like, it's hard. I'm agreeing with you, it's hard to win. But here's the difference with Matt Painter and Purdue compared to your Villanova example and even your Pitt example. Yes, Purdue is getting it rolling in the sense of winning the Big Ten regular season. But like we said before in the open, you don't get, like, now coaches don't get extensions for regular season success. Fans want playoff wins. There's a reason why, you know, there's a lot of people don't believe in Dak Prescott, for example, to use a football reference here. Why? Because Dak Prescott is really solid in the regular season. Come playoff time, he's not. He's not a good playoff quarterback. Kirk Cousins, same thing. Great regular season success. A lot of big-time numbers. Failure in the playoffs, and that's why there's not a lot of people that want Kirk Cousins as their quarterback of their team. We care, and we have told you we care more about playoff success than regular season success. And when it comes to Matt Painter, again, going back to your Jay Wright example, yes, Jay Wright and Villanova have lost a ton of heartbreaking games. Took them a while to kind of break through before they finally got over the top and won 2 national titles in a few years. But what Jay Wright wasn't doing at Villanova was consistently losing to worse teams than him. Fairleigh Dickinson, St. Peter's, again, we just told you before, in the 15 years up to this point, before this tournament starts, 15 years Matt Painter's been there. 8 different times, Purdue's at a top 4 seed. They have been one of the best 16 schools in the country. Despite that, though, 5 different times they have lost to a double-digit seed. It's continuing to lose to teams that are way worse than you. It's one thing if Purdue's losing to Kansas, losing to, Kentucky, they're losing the Elite 8, they're losing to teams that are just better than them. That is a different conversation. But every year in the regular season, they position themselves to be one of the best teams in the country. And every single year, postseason-wise, they fall short, and they fall short in embarrassing fashion. That's why if I'm Purdue, I think at this point, enough is enough. With the way it's laid out for you, with Zach Edey on your team, with again, we talked about the bracket being, at least for number 1 seeds, the easiest of the 4. If you don't break through this year, I don't see when you ever will. Daniel's calling from California. What's up, Daniel?
Yes, good evening. I wanted to say I agree 100% with what you said. There could be an argument that Purdue shouldn't have even made the tournament because of how poor they've done in the most recent history of, like you said, the last
you
4
don't
or 5
believe that, Daniel.
tournaments that they've gotten.
You think they should not be in the tournament?
Well, I think maybe they should barely make it because you're right. I think the most recent history of that team, and if they do poorly in the tournament over and over and over, year after year after year, shouldn't that count as part of the reviews that
No.
the committee says, hey, this team shouldn't make it. They flopped in the postseason the last 5 years.
Not
right?
at all, Daniel. I could not disagree more. I think, honestly, that's asinine. To be completely honest with you, I think every single year, whether it's college basketball, college football, anything, it is a blank slate. So for me, like, previous postseason success, good or bad, like, if it's a team that had a bad regular season, but it's like, let's say, for example, if UConn just had a brutal regular season, their 500 record through the year, they should not be in the tournament because, they won the national title last year, and they've had great success at winning a lot of games as lower seeds. So even though their resume doesn't say they should be in the tournament this specific year, we're going to put them in anyway because of previous success. No, that's not how it works, nor should it. Every year is a blank slate. And I don't think what you do, good or bad, in previous years should influence the committee and how you seed and who you decide to put in and who you decide to leave out. It is truly a blank slate every single year. Players change, coaches change, team dynamics change. I don't think you can use past history, again, good or bad, and say that's why we should put this team in or that's why we should leave this team out. I don't think Purdue is going to go very far this year. But also with that said, they're very deserving of a 1 seed based on regular season success, which is how you are seeded. You are seeded based on how you play in the regular season up to this point. That's all that matters. You could be 0-30 last year. If you're 30-0 this year, That's all that matters. Last year's no account taken whatsoever. They are a 1 seed, and they are absolutely deserving of a 1 seed. With that said, do I trust them? Absolutely not. We'll continue to get your calls here. It is Hick at Night with you right here, Ryan Hickey on CBS Sports Radio. But we will turn to an expert next. Brian Bennett does a tremendous job covering the sport of college basketball for The Athletic. He will join us, give us his thoughts on the number 1 seed in the most danger, we will gravitate towards in terms of Cinderella as well. Brian's got all the answers. We'll get his thoughts when we do return. But here's the latest CBS Sports Radio update. It's Peter Schwartz.
CBS Sports Radio. Sports Flash.
All right, get your brackets ready. March Madness is here. We have our number 1 seeds in the East. It's number 1 overall UConn. They'll play Stetson Friday in Brooklyn. The South, Houston takes on Longwood Thursday in Memphis. In the West, North Carolina, number 1. They'll take on the winner of Howard versus Wagner on Thursday in Spokane. In the Midwest, Purdue is number 1. They'll play the winner of Montana State and Grambling Friday in Indianapolis. In the first 4, it's Boise State against Colorado, Virginia and Colorado State, Montana State against Grambling, and Howard against Wagner. It is March sadness for St. John's as the Red Storm was not selected for the tournament. Head coach Rick Pitino putting the snub into perspective.
You got to say that the committee did the best job they could. We weren't considered, but we've had a lot of firsts this year. We've had a lot of people that really enjoyed watching us play, and we move on. But
not to the postseason. Pitino says the team will not accept the bid to the NIT. Women's NCAA Tournament, number 1 seed, South Carolina, they're number 1 overall, along with Iowa, USC, and Texas. NBA Finals in overtime. Spurs beat the Nets 122-115. Victor Wembanyama with 33 points, 15 boards. The Celtics over the Wizards 130-104. It was the Magic over the Raptors 111-96. Mavericks beat the Nuggets 107-105 on Kyrie Irving's shot at the buzzer. The Heat beat the Pistons 104-101. Bam Adebayo with a three-pointer at the buzzer. And the Bucks beat the Suns 140-129. Halftime in L.A., the Clippers lead the Hawks. The Hawks lead the Clippers 61-44. NHL, Blues over the Ducks 4-2. Penguins 6, Red Wings 3. The Hurricanes beat the Senators 7-2. Wins for the Jets, Blackhawks, Golden Knights, and Rangers. Scotty Scheffler wins the Players' Championship. I'm Peter Schwartz.
Coming up tomorrow on the Zach Geld Show, we recap Conference Championship weekend with Ross Tucker, and it all gets started at 3 p.m. Eastern, noon Pacific.
CBS Sports Radio.
You're in a 5-minute break. Four minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Four minutes remaining. Three minutes, 30 seconds remaining. 3 minutes remaining. Two minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Two minutes remaining. One minute, 30 seconds remaining. One minute remaining. Forty-five seconds remaining. Thirty seconds remaining. Fifteen seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds.
It's Hick at Night with Ryan Hickey.
Welcome back into the show. Ryan Hickey with you right here on CBS Sports Radio. Appreciate you making us a part of your Sunday. Not just St. Patrick's Day, happy St. Patrick's Day to you, but also Selection Sunday. A lot of hoops talk so far for the first 40 minutes. And now we go right to the hotline. Brian Bennett is his name. The Athletic college basketball editor is his job title. Brian, welcome. Appreciate you giving us a few minutes here. How are you?
Well, I'm something about 4 days, but this is the greatest time of year, and I feel like I'm just walking on clouds. So how are you guys doing?
We are doing well. We are doing well. Very excited here to get some games, and hopefully, too, like you said, lessen the workload on you a little bit, get you some sleep here. So in your sleep-deprived state, we open the show, Brian, talking about Purdue. Like, this feels like the year where it's kind of like now or never. You look at the team, the talent they have, and also, too, now that we have the bracket, you look at their path. I would argue right now, of the 4-1 seeds, they have the easiest path to the Final Four. Is this what is your confidence level? What is your belief level right now in Purdue going into this year's tournament?
Yeah, I'm feeling pretty good. And obviously they lost yesterday. But I look at the matchups they have. And granted, you would have looked at last year's matchups and think, Fairleigh Dickinson, that's a pretty good matchup. But, you look at the teams that are in the bracket, they've already beaten Gonzaga. They've already beaten Tennessee. Kansas is beat up. South Carolina is a decent team that has no experience in the tournament.
Mm-hmm.
Creighton, I think, will maybe be the toughest matchup for them just because they have a big and Ryan Kalkbrenner who could really match up with Zach Edey, but he's pretty much the only big they have, and Zach Edey fouls everybody out. So, I mean, honestly, if you can't get through this bracket, if you're Purdue, I don't know when you're going to have a better opportunity than this.
I agree with you 100%. And with that said, Brian, I still don't feel like I'm not picking Purdue to go to the Final Four and represent the Midwest in Phoenix, in part just because like you said it just in the start of your answer. It's like you look at this team in most years, it's like, oh yeah, Purdue's really talented. They should match up well. And then especially too, most years they're losing a double-digit seeds and teams that we don't really even have on the radar in terms of competing with them. When you watch Purdue in previous years, kind of taking that into this year, is it like their issues in the past? Is it like how they're built? Is it like a mentality thing? Is there even one thing you kind of put your finger on as an overall theme of why we've seen Purdue in more years than not under Matt Painter here underachieve when it comes to their high seeding and relatively early exits?
Yeah, it's hard to pin one thing because obviously they're different teams, different rosters. I would say that the Big Ten in general has kind of struggled, and some of that I think is style of play. Some of it, I believe, is lack of really high-level athletes on the perimeter. You see a lot of good big guys, but you just don't see the really high-level guards and wings in the Big Ten for whatever reason, especially the depth of that. And then last year, I think the biggest issue for them was obviously Zach Edey was great, but the surrounding cast was not very good. When it mattered, I think that the two guards, Lawyer and Smith, were freshmen, and they hit a freshman wall, and they obviously played terribly in that first round. Now they're a lot better this year. They're a year older. They brought in Lance Jones, who's an athletic guy on the perimeter, which they did not have last year. So I think that gives them a lot more margin for error. I think they're going to be super motivated here, and I think it's going to come down honestly to kind of how Zach Edey is officiated, because he has drawn more fouls this year than pretty much any player in the history of college basketball. We saw it again in the Wisconsin game. Even though Wisconsin won, he fouled out like 5 guys in that game. If they're going to officiate it like that, they're going to be great. But if Zach Edey is not getting those kind of calls and those guys are not hitting shots from the outside, then all of a sudden this becomes a pretty average team.
And that's something that's at least reared its ugly head in previous years for the Boilermakers. We were talking to Brian Bennett, does a great job for The Athletic, with us right here on CBS Sports Radio. Hick at Night is what you're listening to. Brian, I mean, UConn, number 1 overall seed, right? One of, you could argue, the best team in the country from start to finish, looking like they have not missed a step since last year's hot tournament run. But also, as you sit here and look at the bracket, Brian, I mean, would you say they, of the 4 1 seeds, have the hardest path?
I actually feel like the hardest path is Houston. But I do think UConn definitely has some challenges in here. Like a Northwestern and a Florida Atlantic. I think both those teams are very tough, very confident playing in close games in that second rounder. Auburn is a team that's probably a little bit underseeded when you look at their metrics. And I think, granted, they'd have a lot of big wins, but I think they're number 4 in KenPom, which UConn was number 4 in KenPom going in last year and seeded 4th. So they're kind of similar trajectory of UConn in that situation. And then, of course, Iowa State at the bottom. Just playing great and just no fun to play at all with their defense. And in Illinois, who's just on fire and defensively not great, but just an incredible offensive team, a lot of weapons on the perimeter. So there's a lot of teams here who can cause UConn some problems. The issue is when UConn's been fully healthy, like no one's been able to beat them except when Creighton made 14 of 28 threes at home in front of a crazy crowd. And that's what it's going to take to beat UConn, I think, because they just have so many answers everywhere.
Do you have them repeating, Brian?
I do. It's just, I've watched them all year long, and, I think they're the best team by far. And, again, they have everything. And, I don't see a lot of weaknesses on this team. Even if they have a bad shooting night, they can defend. They pass the ball well. They're deep. They do have good shooters. They've got the big guys inside. Honestly, it's very, very difficult to repeat. We all know that. It's been 16 years or 17 years since someone's done it. So, they could fall. But, when I've watched basketball all year long, every time I see them, I say that is the best team in college basketball.
Who are the other 3 teams you have joining UConn, Brian, in Phoenix?
Yeah, I like Purdue. So I'm gonna go with Purdue in the Final Four, which is always a very dangerous pick. But again, I like the bracket, and I just love the story. Virginia-esque kind of redemption. So I think I'm going to go with that. I'm really struggling with the South region because, I love Marquette. I would pick Marquette if I thought Tyler Kolek was completely healthy. There's just no way of knowing if that's the case. I'm going to go with a bomber out of there with Florida. And I know they had the big injury today, and they didn't play well. After that, I think they get a little shell-shocked. But I love the way those guards play. And, if Kolek isn't healthy, I think they maybe knock them off in the second round. And then, I think there's a lot of vulnerable teams in that bottom half of the bracket, and Houston's banged up. I don't believe in Duke. I think James Madison might pull a couple upsets in there. And then the West, I'm going to go with Arizona. I don't really trust them that much, but I like the bottom of their bracket, and playing in LA in the regional. I guess I'm going with two real redemption stories, I guess, in Arizona and Purdue to get to the Final Four, but the UConn winning it all over Purdue.
It's funny, Brian. We're talking to Brian Bennett of The Athletic. I feel like looking at this bracket, like you just said before with Arizona, you don't really trust them. Like, I feel that way about like 95% of teams. Like, I like them. They're talented. But it's like, can I trust them to make a deep run where you've gotten burned in the past? Yeah. This does feel like maybe outside of UConn, outside of Purdue and Houston, like this feels like it is. I mean, and we've seen it in college basketball this year, just been wide open, upsets galore all season long. Is there a team, whether it's, a very low-seeded team, we've seen, obviously, Fairleigh Dickinson, St. Peter's make, Cinderella runs, or even a team in the 7, 8, 9 range that just is not getting enough attention right now? Who do you kind of see, like, making a big surprise run here that, the nation can kind of gravitate to over the next few weeks?
Yeah, if I knew for sure, I would go to Vegas and make a lot of money. But in terms of teams I like Grand Canyon. That's a team that's won a lot of games. They have a lot of high major talent on their roster. Playing a St. Mary's team in the first round is a 12. And I love St. Mary's too, don't get me wrong, but it's just, they play a slow style that I think, keeps the games close. And, they win that, I think, they could start to get on a run there. Let's see, let's go around a little bit. New Mexico, I think, is playing really well. Coming in, obviously, they won the Mountain West Tournament. A lot of talent on that team. I think North Carolina could run in some problems in that second round game. I like North Carolina a lot, but they run in that second round game against Mississippi State, who's got a ton of big guys and just an enormous amount of size, which I think could give Armando Bacot and the Tar Heels some problems. And if they don't win them, it's Michigan State, and we all know about Tom Izzo in March.
Oh, yeah.
So, if something like that happens in that second round, all of a sudden maybe they're getting a little farther. So that's not exactly a Cinderella story. But, there's a lot of really good teams. I mentioned James Madison, obviously, and there's teams in the 14, 15, 16 range. You never really pick them because they haven't been that good all year and nobody's really seen them. So, for me to pick one right here, it'd be kind of just silly. But it's possible. It happens every year, and it happened a lot last year.
That it does. Finally, Brian, there's been, a lot of, I feel like this year maybe more than ever, there's been a lot of questions with the committee about almost anything, or I should say, over almost everything. Whether it's UConn's, the bracket, the matchup they've gotten, some of the snubs, some of the teams in the play-in, the seedings, over and under. Overall, how would you evaluate how this committee did in terms of picking and seeding the 68 teams?
Well, let me say this. I wrote this morning, and I've been doing bracketology for The Athletic for 6 years. This was the absolute hardest one I've ever done. Went into this morning, basically stayed up all night trying to figure it out. It was impossible. There's no right way to do this. It was just a crazy, crazy year. I think they got most of the teams right. I would not have put Virginia in. I would have put St. John's in or one of the other Big East teams. But that's a quibble. I think the seeding was all over the map. I mean, just really, really bad job. You look at Duquesne as a number 11 seed. That makes no sense whatsoever. James Madison won 31 games and they're a 12 seed, and Duquesne was the number 6 seed in the Atlantic 10. That makes no sense whatsoever. Gonzaga's a 5 seed. Makes no sense whatsoever. The Mountain West teams, their seeding range makes no sense whatsoever. Having two of those in the first four, when you have Michigan State at 19 and 14 as a 9 seed, they did a bad job. I think they got. I know they were up till 2 in the morning last night. I think that at some point they just got tired and they made some mistakes. But I will say most of the top seeds are correct. All but one of the teams for sure is correct. And we're going to have a great tournament no matter what. So let's tip it off and let's go. That's true. The complaints stop as soon as Thursday at noon Eastern hits, and we start watching just wall-to-wall college basketball. It's some of the best time, some of the best weeks of the year. Very excited for it. Brian, look, I appreciate you coming on here. Get some sleep. Thank you for giving us a few minutes, and enjoy March. I think somebody said we sleep in May, and that sounds about right. So thanks for having me.
That is right. The philosopher, if you will, John Rothstein. We sleep in May. That is right. Brian Bennett does a tremendous job covering the sport of college basketball for The Athletic. Really do appreciate him joining us right here on CBS Sports Radio. Few things I want to react to. So we are running out of time at the top of the hour, but a few things I want to react to Brian saying on the other side of the break, including his national championship pick of UConn, and a point he just made at the end when it comes to this year being the toughest in terms of bracketology he's felt like he's ever had in terms of seeding, who makes it, who's out. I think there's a reason for that. And it's been a reason that has caused a lot of controversy in college sports overall, but it's a positive. I think will produce some chaotic and unpredictable outcomes once Thursday does come. I'll tell you about that when we do return after this quick break. As a reminder, if you are just tuning in right now, miss any part of the show, or maybe you have to leave us soon, you're on your way to work, on your way home, and you know you're going to get out of the car or go to bed soon, great news. 2 ways to stay involved with the show and stay updated on everything we're talking about. Hick at Nite podcast, Nite spelled Nite, free and available wherever you do get your pods. Posts all 4 hours of this show and every show I do host right here on CBS Sports Radio. That's the easiest, best way to get caught up. Hick at Nite podcast, Nite spelled Nite. Again, available wherever you do get your pods. And also on YouTube, Ryan Hickey is the channel name. A lot of video gets posted to that YouTube page, so you can watch, if you are so inclined, to the radio show right here on that YouTube page. Again, channel name Ryan Hickey. All right, so again, when we return, Brian Bennett gave us his national championship. He also explained why this year has been more chaotic than ever. Also want to include when we come back here why there should be absolutely not one thought of expanding the tournament. We'll hit that next. Hick at Night with you right here on CBS Sports Radio.
You're in a 5-minute break. Four minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Four minutes remaining. Three minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Three minutes remaining. Two minutes, 30 seconds remaining. 2 minutes remaining. One minute, 30 seconds remaining. One minute remaining. Forty-five seconds remaining. Thirty seconds remaining. Fifteen seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds.
Welcome in to the Hick at Night Show. Here's Ryan Hickey.
And welcome on in to Hick at Night with you right here on CBS Sports Radio. Appreciate you making us a part of a very, very special Sunday. Not only is it St. Patrick's Day, happy St. Patrick's Day to you, it is also Selection Sunday. We have made it. You could argue the 3 greatest weeks of sports are now just days away from commencing. Especially, I would argue, the 2 best days of the sports calendar. Thursday and Friday of the tournament. 16 games Thursday, 16 games Friday. Wall-to-wall college basketball action. Upsets galore. Brackets ripped up. Oh, I cannot wait. We are almost there. We know the field is set. 68 teams were just released a few hours ago. We just had Brian Bennett on from The Athletic to kind of give his biggest takeaways. Does a great job bracketology for The Athletic. And I want to kind of break down and react to a few things he said before getting your thoughts, as well as March Madness gets set to commence here in a few days. And the first thing I want to talk about is Brian saying that he thinks UConn's going to repeat. We've not had a repeat champ since Florida did it. What was it, 06, 07? Right, with Joakim Noah and Billy Donovan. I think UConn's going to the Final Four. I think that, to me, I feel really good about that. Even though Brian disagreed, I would still say, at least for me personally, I think UConn does have the toughest bracket or the toughest path, I should say, of all number 1 seeds when you are in a bracket with Iowa State, who's playing tremendous basketball right now, Illinois, as well as Terrence Shannon Jr. is playing like one of the best players in all of college basketball. Auburn is really damn good as well. Like, that is a brutal 1, 2, 3, 4. If you're UConn, who traditionally and usually is the number 1 overall seed, also means you get the easiest bracket or easiest path to the Final Four. Not the case. Absolutely, at least in my opinion, not the case for the Huskies this year. I do think they're getting the Final Four, but Brian mentioned it in his answer about what it takes to beat UConn. And he was saying that really the only one who truly got UConn's number this year was Creighton. at home, awesome environment, and shot 50% from three, 14 to 28. That's why I think Alabama's going to the national title game. Alabama can score, man. They run up and down the floor. It is a track meet. Nate Oates is a really, really good coach, and I think that offense is what is perfectly geared to knock a team like UConn down. They have very few flaws. But I think if you were any other team right now trying to prevent a repeat of UConn winning, I think that your best bet is outscoring them. You go back to last year, they blew every team out. They just ran them off the court. I think your best bet in knocking UConn off and preventing a repeat is outscoring them, and I think Alabama's offense in the Final Four perfectly catered for that. I do think Houston is winning this year. I love their defense. I love their toughness. They have a ton of experience as well. I think this is the year Kelvin Sampson and the Cougs get over the hump and do win a national title, in part because I do think UConn's going to get picked off before they do make the national championship game. That is, to me, first and foremost. Also, what I thought was really interesting, that is a positive for the sport of college basketball going forward. It's a negative, though, unfortunately, for Brian Bennett, who did just join us a few minutes ago, was the fact that he mentioned he's gotten no sleep, in part because for someone who's done this a long time, who's really good at what he does, bracketology for The Athletic, he said this was the hardest bracketology he's ever had to do in terms of who's in, who's out, and what seeds. He said it was really tough. There's a reason for that. It's not an accident. It's because we saw it in college football, and now we're seeing it in college basketball. NIL and the transfer portal have brought parity to college basketball. I mean, how many upsets do we have this year where number one team goes on the road, loses? Top 10 team goes on the road, loses. The gap between the elite and everyone else, it's shrinking. And it's shrinking because of NIL and transfer portal. And there's a lot of hand-wringing, a lot of negativity when it comes to those two specific mechanisms that have been included in college athletics the last few years. But it is the exact reason why in college football now, this season especially, and I think going forward, we saw an openness in college football that we haven't really seen in 30 or 40 years. And the same thing with college basketball, where now there are a lot of really damn good teams, really talented players that are now, I mean, even as lower seeds. Again, we saw it with St. Peter's a few years ago. We saw it with FAU and Fairleigh Dickinson as well last year. Like, a lot of teams now are able to make deep runs, and it's not just a one seed when it comes to the Final Four, in part because the gap is narrowing. There's a lot of talent all across the country. And now a lot of other teams that maybe would lose recruits to Kentucky, who would, they would sit on the bench for 2 or 3 years behind, lottery picks, and then eventually they would play. Well, now they're going somewhere else and playing right away and having success. It's not an accident. And so that's why I think, Brian just was talking about before of why this bracketology was so hard, in part because there were some bid stealers, but also even with that, with that being mentioned, few teams coming in like NC State that would not have made the tournament otherwise except winning the conference. Even now in their own conference, we are seeing the gap between the best and the worst narrow. And that's why you can allow a 10 seed to get hot and win the conference tournament and steal a bid. The gap is narrowing. And I think as fans, that is great news. That's great news. That means more competitive games, more exciting action, more upsets. Isn't that more unpredictability? The last time I checked, don't like we relish and love the unpredictability nature of sports? That's part of the reason why, for me at least, I feel like the NBA is not as popular as the NFL, is because the NBA is easily the most predictable postseason in sports. The best team, 99% of the time, unless injuries get in the way, always wins. So there are some great games, maybe an upset or two here or there, but top seed in the West, top seed in the East, more times than not, is going to the finals and winning the finals. That predictability, I think, brings apathy in a way. And so now we're going to get, which is already a chaotic tournament, now even adding more unpredictability because of NIL and because of transfer portal. We as fans all win because of that. So honestly, I'm sick of hearing about NIL and transfer portal, how it's a negative for college athletics, how it's a negative for fans, how it's ruining the sport or sports. It is tremendous. And we are seeing it directly on the field in front of our eyes. I love it. I think we are going to get set for what is going to be just an unbelievable tournament where we saw a lot of upsets in the regular season. I think we're going to see that carry over into the tournament as well. Last thing I want to mention to you before we do get your thoughts at 855-212-4227, the one thing I don't want to hear after today, and there were a few snubs. There were a few teams that can feel upset. Kim English of Providence was not shy, and we'll play that for you here in a little bit. He was not shy about showing his frustration that Providence got left out of the 68-team field. But one thing I do not want to hear today or ever is talk about tournament expansion. Because tournament expansion, you know why it's being talked about? You know why it's being floated of 72, 76, 96 teams? You know why that is being talked about now? Not because there are 96 teams worthy of making the tournament. It's because I think the NCAA is trying to supplement right now what has been a lack of interest in the college basketball regular season. There is dwindling interest in college basketball from November to February. And I think the NCAA is realizing that and saying, well, we got to get more money somehow. What's the answer? Oh, let's just expand the tournament. Everyone loves it. We'll jack up the rights fees. We'll get an extra day or two of revenue, and we'll be all good. That's why this tournament expansion talk is happening. Not because there are teams worthy of it and we got to get 72 teams involved because there are 72 teams that deserve to compete for a championship. It's all driven by money. And it's all driven by the fact that men's, or interest, I should say, in men's college basketball is on the decline. I mean, you look at just the ratings, Fox shared them. Fox had more viewers for their women's basketball broadcasts than they did for the men's broadcast this year. Women's college basketball was a better draw than men on Fox. And it's not an accident either. Because I bet right now, wherever you are, you can list and know more women's basketball players than men. Angel Reese, Caitlin Clark, there are stars in women's college basketball. There aren't a lot of true household name stars in the men's game. Part of that is because I think if you are right now men's college basketball, it's become such a one and done situation where if you are half decent, you're going to the draft right away after a year. So now forget the transfer portal. There's just no team development because your best players are there for a year, then they're gone. So there's no way to develop rivalries. There's no way to build even just story arcs for these athletes because they're there and just in the blink of an eye, they're gone. I mean, again, if we're not watching college basketball in November, December, January, February, we tune in maybe for conference championship weekend, maybe a week or two before conference championship weekend starts to kind of, get familiar with teams and players. You're watching for a month, maybe 6 weeks. That's all you get in terms of trying to figure out which players you like, which teams you like. That's no time to find out, who these players are, gravitate towards them, have rivalries form between, players and teams. That's why, if you want to talk about a rule change in college basketball, what I would suggest is eligibility in terms of the draft instead of trying to expand the tournament. I would go I love the college baseball model. If you're unfamiliar, the college baseball model is this. You can enter the MLB draft after high school. You can get drafted right out of high school. But if you decide to go to college, you are there for 3 years, bare minimum. So you can't, go to Stanford, play baseball for a year, then go get drafted. It's either go out of high school or go to college for a bare minimum 3 years, and then you're eligible to get drafted again. I think that's exactly what college basketball should adopt. I know it's a partnership with the NBA, and it's the NBA rule as to why the one and done exists. But I think that rule would benefit college basketball more. Sure, you may lose some great players that never go to Duke or never go to Kentucky or never go to Purdue. But I think what you gain is familiarity. I think what you to me, gain a lot more than you lose. Because now you can learn these players. You can kind of, like, perfect example is Zach Edey. He's a guy that we are very familiar with, in part because he's been at Purdue for 4 years. So he's a guy we have watched dominate in the regular season. We have watched, struggle in March. And that's part of the reason why, for me, to kind of go full circle and kind of circle back to what we talked about at the beginning of the show, Purdue, to me, is the most pressure on them in the tournament. In part because we have seen this group, led by Matt Painter, consistently fall short. Underachieve. And Zach Edey's a part of that. Losing to St. Peter's 2 years ago. Losing to Fairleigh Dickinson in round number 1 last year as a number 1 seed. Like, we have seen this team fall a lot right now in March. But now that they are coming back and they are returning college basketball, at least there's a story there. Like, everyone listening right now, I'm sure has heard the name Zach Edey. In part because he's around. He's there so we can watch his story. We can watch him for years on end, not just watch him for 6 weeks and then say, see you later. And so that's why I think if you're college basketball, you are better off trying to adopt the college baseball model of trying to get as many players as possible to stay for a few years. That's in part, outside of just the star power, that's in part why I think, at least, women's basketball is on the rise. It's a great product, but now also the stars stay. Caitlin Clark, after falling short of the national title game last year, is back and we can watch her this year. Angel Reese, after winning the national title at LSU, now we get to see how they, do for an encore. The group stays together. The chemistry is better because you are playing together for 2 or 3 years. So the product is better because the players are used to playing with each other and have cohesion. Where in men's basketball, every year it's a new team. Whether that's the transfer portal or whether that's guys going to the league, it's like you're starting over and half the year is spent just trying to develop chemistry. You don't have that in the women's game. And that's, I think, partly why we're seeing more viewership gravitate to the women's game versus the men. That's why I don't think expansion of the tournament is needed if you're college basketball and you want to kind of get some money back and get attention on your sport. I don't think it's expansion. I think it's just trying to keep guys in school for longer periods of time. Have us as fans be familiar with their game, be familiar with their story. That's what I think is best for the sport going forward. 855-212-4227, 855-212-4227. Speaking of Purdue and pressure, I think, again, part of the reason why they have so much pressure is the fact that we've seen this group, this team, led by former Player of the Year, probably will win another Player of the Year award in Zach Edey, being on the team now at Purdue for years, falling short. I think they have the most pressure on them. If you think there's a team in the tournament with more pressure than Purdue, I want to hear your thoughts. 855-212-4227. David's calling from Buffalo. What up, David?
Hey, Ryan. I appreciate you taking my call tonight. How's it going?
Good, man. It's going well. Appreciate you asking. What's on your mind?
You got it, man. A few thoughts here on what you're talking about. I think Purdue, no doubt, has pressure. You look at where they're playing these games. They're playing in their, backyard or down the street in Indianapolis. So that's going to be a definite tough thing for them. And I think Kentucky as well has pressure on them. I heard somebody tonight say, they either look like an NBA team or they look like an NIT team this year. So to me, anytime you have John Calipari as your coach, the way he recruits, I feel like that's a tough situation there. That they need to come up big. And he's only won, I think, once there, honestly, since he's been there. So he needs to win another national championship to kind of validate what he's been there and what he's recruited every year. So I think the pressure is a lot on them. And, your point about college basketball, and I'll let you go after this, is a real good one. To me, I look at college basketball as like a restaurant you used to go to a lot. And then over time, maybe the manager changes, maybe the chef changes, The food doesn't taste as good. The drinks get watered down. It's just not the same thing. But then, yeah, you know what? You like going there a couple times a year because maybe there's something cool on the menu. You know, maybe there's something interesting to eat there. Maybe the vibe is good here and there to go there, but you don't like it as much as you used to. And that's kind of what I feel like college basketball has turned into. It's not what it used to be. It's changed a lot. And I do think they need like a czar or a commissioner to really change things up and make rules that will really adapt to the modern day, you know, basketball landscape with the NBA, with kids going to the G League and all these different things that have just made, you know, college basketball so different than it was, say, 30, 40, 50 years ago.
David, I agree. I love the analogy. Thank you for the call, buddy. I think the restaurant analogy is perfect. Like you said, it's just there are changes where the sport is different now. And I think part of that is just when you don't have familiarity, it's tough to truly be invested in and watch a lot of college basketball, especially January you have the NFL playoffs, right? February, it's a Super Bowl. And even during the dead time, there's great NBA action on as well. Like, there is not a lot of, like, if you're college basketball, you're fighting for attention with a lot of other sports, and it's tough to, you know, to pick a college basketball game over a Nuggets-Lakers game that played at the same time because you know Nikola Jokic, you know LeBron James. You don't maybe know the best player on UConn. You don't maybe know the best player on Houston. And so it's tough to watch a game that you're unfamiliar with. You mentioned rules right there, David. And speaking of which, Kim English, Providence head coach, really laid into the committee. And he's very upset that Providence was left out of the tournament. But he said something that I think is 100% right. And it bears warning in college basketball and also college football. I'll tell you what that lesson is when we do return. It is Ryan Hickey with you right here on CBS Sports Radio.
You're in a 5-minute break. Four minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Four minutes remaining. Three minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Three minutes remaining. Two minutes, 30 seconds remaining. 2 minutes remaining. One minute, 30 seconds remaining. One minute remaining. Forty-five seconds remaining. Thirty seconds remaining. Fifteen seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds.
Yeah, I think the analytics are right. Yeah. I think you could schedule bad teams in your non-league and beat the snot out of them and beat them by 50 and 60. And I think coaching for so long has been a gentleman agreement. I mean, you have a large lead at the end of the game. You know, for health reasons, you take guys out to get some other guys opportunities to play. You take guys out. But right now, it might be a change in college basketball, where beating teams by scheduling to beat teams by 40 and 50 might be a thing to do.
This is Hick at Night. Here's your host, Ryan Hickey.
That voice you just heard was one of Kim English, Providence head coach, who is not having a very good St. Patrick's Day. Let me tell you, you may need a Guinness or two to calm the nerves. Dropping a curse word, BS, getting frustrated with how, some of the metrics were used against his team. Look, I'm not going to sit here and stump and say it's absurd or ridiculous that Providence got snubbed out of one of 68 spots. But I think, though, in his frustration, Kim English highlights a problem in college basketball and, in turn, also a problem in college football that I hope, at least in college football's perspective, is solved by expanding the playoff, and that is this. Too many times, I think committees in basketball or football value wins over competition. It took for Florida State, I think part of it was losing their quarterback, but it took Florida State to be the first team in 10 years in college football to go undefeated and miss the college football playoff. It was, in every other year, you are undefeated, 13-0, you are in. No questions, no doubt about it. So if you're a coach saying, okay, how do we make the playoff? Well, if we go undefeated, it doesn't really matter what our strength of schedule is. If we're 13-0, we're going to get in. So why should we schedule tough non-conference games and risk losing when we can schedule cupcakes, 3 of them, win 50-0, in college basketball's case, win 100-35, and make it look good because we're going to win a game by 70. I think, in a way, Kim English is right that teams were rewarded for playing bad teams and blowing them out versus challenging yourself and maybe having a loss or two, but having a tough strength of schedule. That is a bad precedent to set in both college basketball and college football. Because we, right, at the end of the day, we watch these games to be entertained. We want to see good games. No one says, oh, I can't wait to go watch Alabama beat the brakes off of Morehead State. No one is saying, oh, Kentucky basketball, yes, we're playing the Little Sisters of the Poor today. Can't wait for Coach Cal to stick it to them and win by 70. I don't know about you, but when I look at games to attend, I'm not circling those games and saying, yeah, I got to be there. It's the big-time matchups. It's the top 10, top 15 matchups that get you excited, that want you to tune in or want to get you to be in the building. And so I think the more teams are rewarded in college basketball, and again, by extension, college football, the more you get rewarded of, well, hey, you just win. That's all that matters. So it doesn't, matter who you play as long as you win. So why challenge yourself and play a top 10 team when you can play the 300th ranked team and get a win and now probably do you better than, beating the 300th team by 30 versus playing a top 10 team and maybe losing by 5. You're better off beating a team by 30. That, I think, is the wrong precedent to set because we as fans lose. Because that means less competitive games for us to watch, which in the end is not fun. No one wants to watch a blowout. No one wants to sit there and watch a team get wiped off the floor. So even though I don't think Kim English had a real argument for Providence to be in, I think his message, though, was spot on. And I think right now, unfortunately, it does benefit teams to play lesser competition in the non-conference and win those games, which I think is bad for us as fans. And I hope that the committee, again, both basketball and football, and I'm hoping that the 12-team college football playoff expansion that's coming, I hope that now minimizes teams saying, let's just play 3 cupcakes because now you're less penalized for a loss, and maybe you are more inclined to play a big non-conference game, which is a win for us as fans to watch that game. I hope that still, incentivizes teams to play tough schedules versus incentivizing teams to just get guaranteed wins, as many as you can. That's a bad thing for us as fans. 855-212-4227. Joe is calling from Florida. What up, Joe?
Hey, Ryan. How you doing? Thanks for taking the call. I got a bunch of stuff if you'll give me a minute. I actually went to PC games a long time ago. I'm 51 years old, to give you an idea.
PC being Providence College, for those unaware, right?
Yes, sir. Providence College Friars. I lived in Somerset, Mass, Southeastern. We were 20 minutes from Providence. My best friend's dad actually worked in Fall River. You may have heard of Fall River, the home of Chris Herron, Durfee High School basketball. So we would drive to Providence. He actually was a teacher, and he got free tickets. I remember this vividly, and we would go to all the games. This is back when Billy Donovan, Marty Conlon, Eric Murdoch, the shorts were like Underoos size back then.
Right. What's your point, Joe?
My point is nobody knows Providence basketball like me. What Kim English needs to be saying is we were up 7 at Butler in February, and we only scored 1 point down the stretch with 4 minutes, and we lost the game. What Kim English needs to be saying is on March 2nd, they played Villanova at home, and Villanova went in and took their girlfriends from them.
Right, there's plenty. I'm with you there, Joe. There's plenty of reasons, or you can point to that Providence blew it at some point. Should not be in.
They were the 9th or 10th team out. They weren't even close to being in the tournament.
I agree.
As far as Purdue goes, they're just not an athletic team. That's the best way I can term it, basketball, to be politically correct. They're not athletic. They've never really been a winning team, so it all depends on what they want at that college, what the institution talks to Painter about. If it is about winning, then he does need to go. If it's just about, being decent, getting in and losing, because some schools are okay with that. As far as UConn goes, UConn has a madman at coach, and they have a madman and Tristan Newton at point guard. And the crazy ones, if you notice the champions, the Jordans, the Bradys, they got the crazy in them. And that's why UConn will cut the nets down.
All right, so you're saying UConn repeat, Joe?
I don't – if you watch them play, how will they lose?
I think, Joe, and appreciate the call, but he had Brian Bennett on before, basically saying unless it's a 3-point barrage, I'm with you. UConn's a very tough team. I think they're going to the Final Four. I do think Houston, though, is going to play good enough defense to win a national title. That's my opinion. Going back to Purdue really fast, I'm with you in the sense that if you are truly trying to win a national championship at Purdue, if that is your ultimate goal, if Matt Painter doesn't make the Final Four, I don't know how you could bring him back. I don't know how you could truly sit there and tell your fans we are in it to win a national championship, yet still continue to employ a coach that can't get you over the hump come March. They are a great team in the regular season. Continue every single year to win and contend in the Big Ten. Always are seated very high. This is the 9th time in 16 years that Matt Painter's been there. They've been a top 4 seed. So they have consistently been one of the best teams in the country in the regular season year in and year out. The problem is, despite all of those, all of those seasons where they are ranked, seeded, I should say, very highly, they don't do anything with it. 0 Final Four appearances, 1 Elite 8. They don't get it done when it matters most. And that's why when you look at their history, coupled with the fact that their bracket, their path to the Final Four, I would argue, of all 1 seeds, is definitely right now the easiest of the 4 1s. If you don't make it to the Final Four, I don't know how we could truly sit here and say Matt Painter is the right guy for the job for Purdue. If their ultimate goal, which if I was a Purdue fan, I would hope that would be, is to win a national championship. 855-212-4227. When we return here on the show, we'll switch to some football. First week of NFL free agency is in the books. What did we learn? I think we learned a bunch of lessons. I'll tell you those when we do return. Ryan Hickey with you right here on CBS Sports Radio. First up, though, with the latest CBS Sports Radio update, is Peter Schwartz.
CBS Sports Radio. Sports Flash.
Ryan, let's begin with March Madness. Number 1 seeds for the big dance. In the East, it's UConn, number 1 overall. They'll take on Stetson Friday in Brooklyn. In the South, number 1 is Houston. They'll play Longwood Thursday in Memphis. In the West, it's North Carolina. They'll play the winner of Howard versus Wagner, that play-in game Thursday. And that game will be on Thursday in Spokane. Midwest, Purdue versus the winner of Montana State against Grambling Friday in Indianapolis. The first 4 matchups, Boise against Colorado, Virginia against Colorado State, Montana State versus Grambling, Howard versus Wagner. Yale took on Brown for the Ivy League title.
6.1 seconds to go. Mahoney with the ball. Lobs it to Wolf, top of the key. Yale down by 1. Wolf stops right elbow. Top of the key to Enbank. 2 seconds. Bounce it down low to Nolan. Floater at the buzzer. It's good. Matt Nolan at center court is being mobbed as the Bulldogs have pulled off a stunner.
That was the call on Yale Radio. Yale capturing the Ivy League title, beating Brown 62-61. They're the 13th seed in the East. They'll face number 4 Auburn on Friday in Spokane. SEC final, Auburn over Florida 86-67. Big Ten, Illinois beat Wisconsin 93-87. NBA fourth quarter, Hawks on top of the Clippers 94-74. Finals, the Spurs over the Nets 122-115. That was in overtime. Celtics over the Wizards 130-104. Bucks 140, Suns 129. The Heat over the Pistons 104-101. Mavericks beat the Nuggets 107-105 on Kyrie Irving's shot at the buzzer. And the Magic beat the Raptors 111-96. NHL, the Blues beat the Ducks 4-2. Penguins 6, Red Wings 3. The Hurricanes over the Senators 7-2. Rangers 5, Islanders 2. Golden Knights beat the Devils 3-1. Blackhawks 5, Sharks 2. The Jets over the Blue Jackets 6-1. Golf, Scotty Scheffler won the Players' Championship. I'm Peter Schwartz.
Listen to After Hours with Amy Lawrence, overnights from 2 to 6 a.m. Eastern, only on CBS Sports Radio. You're listening to CBS Sports Radio, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, all live, all the time. CBS Sports Radio.
You're in a 5-minute break. Four minutes, 30 seconds remaining. 4 minutes remaining. Three minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Three minutes remaining. Two minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Two minutes remaining. One minute, 30 seconds remaining. One minute remaining. Forty-five seconds remaining. Thirty seconds remaining. Fifteen seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds.
It's Hick at Night with Ryan Hickey.
Welcome back into the show. Ryan Hickey with you right here on CBS Sports Radio. As a reminder, this portion of the show is brought to you by Wesley Financial. Stuck in a timeshare and want out? Contact Wesley Financial Group now and get a free timeshare exit information kit at wesleyfinancialgroup.com. wesleyfinancialgroup.com. All right, we'll circle back to your NCAA tournament calls and thoughts here in a little bit. But I did want to touch on some NFL because the first week of NFL free agency has commenced. It has been a chaotic week. And so now that we're sitting here on Sunday after a week of big-time moves, what I want to do is tell you lessons we learned. What are teams telling you right now by the moves they made or didn't make? It's time for a little free agent edition of What Did We Learn? First thing we learned, the Atlanta Falcons are now officially a playoff team. They have added Kirk Cousins. With that said, they, to me, guaranteed to be one of the 7 playoff teams in 2024. They now are the favorites to win the NFC South, and they get a real quarterback in there in Kirk to pair along with Drake London and Kyle Pitts and Bijan Robinson. Also, I like the moves they made this week, adding Darnell Mooney, adding even Rondale Moore, someone who's not really been a fit in Arizona, but I think in this offense can work for the role he'll be asked to perform. I really like this Falcons team, what they have done. You give Kirk Cousins, who has been one of the most hit quarterbacks every single year in the last few years in Minnesota, a better offensive line to protect him. You have balance, again, in terms of what you have around him. I would argue the skill talent in Atlanta is better than what he had in Minnesota. All the Falcons were missing last year as a quarterback. Now they get that quarterback. Falcons, in adding Kirk Cousins, they are a playoff team. That is lesson number 1 we learned from this week, the first week of free agency. The second lesson we learned, the Chargers are rebuilding, and that is the right move. I know it's easy to think with Jim Harbaugh and Justin Herbert, oh, they're going to be really damn good next year. They're going to win 11 games. They're going to go to the playoffs and maybe push the Chiefs for the division. It's not. I think that success eventually will come. It ain't happening in 2024. Because for Jim Harbaugh, I think part of the reason why he took this job was he realized we got a whole lot of building to do. You got the quarterback, yes. You have really nothing else, though. And we're seeing that already play out this week. Keenan Allen, wrong side of 30, out, traded. Mike Williams, never healthy, cut. Khalil Mack, I would assume is on a different team by week number 1. But his name's been on the trade block. Joey Bosa had to redo his deal just to stay with the Chargers. That is the right Austin Eckler not coming back. That is the right thing. The Chargers for years have had the flashy names, but never actual any substance once it comes to the season. Once it comes to actually winning big time important games. Getting a new culture in there is Jim Harbaugh's first priority, and that starts with getting new guys on the team. Rebuilding this team. They got a lot of old and injured players making a whole lot of money. That's got to change. That's what Jim is doing. This team will be successful eventually. I don't think, though, it's going to happen in year number 1, and they are doing the right thing in rebuilding this roster. Another lesson we learned, speaking of rebuilding the roster, is that the Cowboys this offseason are prioritizing re-signing their own guys. And that's the right move, by the way. I didn't understand the conversation this week about the Cowboys where it's like, oh, every team is signing free agents except Dallas. They're not signing anybody. You know why they're not signing anybody? Because they have the right approach of we got to secure our own guys first. Dak Prescott, CeeDee Lamb, Micah Parsons either have expiring deals or soon to be expiring deals that they got to lock up. I mean, you look at Dak Prescott, he is the highest cap hit in 2024, just shy of $60 million. You think the Cowboys are going to go into 2024 with a $60 million quarterback? No. You lower that cap number by getting an extension done. That's what I think they're actively working on. CeeDee Lamb is not a receiver who's now playing on his 5th-year option. You want, I think, risk losing in free agency. So what do you got to do? Extend him this offseason. I know Micah Parsons is 2 years away, but I think like we've seen with everything right now in the cap rising, that price tag, the longer you wait, goes up. I don't think the Cowboys want to play a game of chicken like they did with Dak, basically, and overpay for Micah Parsons when they can sign him now and, let's say, get him at a quote-unquote cheaper deal. So the reason why the Cowboys are not out there signing Calvin Ridley and, signing big-name free agents is because they, I think, right now are prioritizing Dak, CeeDee, Micah. That's where a large part of their money is going to go. And by the way, that's the right thing. They don't have a lot of cap space to begin with, but now you be able to sign those guys long term. That is your best bet right now if you are Dallas in terms of trying to still be competitive moving forward. Another lesson we learned from the first week of NFL free agency is the Vikings are drafting a quarterback. It's pretty obvious at this point, and it was pretty obvious really the second that the Falcons started becoming a rumor that they could really be, interested and maybe be the favorites to land Kirk Cousins. And that was because the Vikings were not going to overpay. Was it 4 years? I think $180 million, top of my head, was what Kirk got from Atlanta. Vikings were committed, even though right now they have no clear quarterback option. They were committed to not overpay. And I think that right there should have told you they're drafting a quarterback. You sign Sam Darnold, they're drafting a quarterback. You don't trade for Justin Fields, they're drafting a quarterback. And now they make this trade with the Texans where they acquire the Texans' number 23 pick in the upcoming first round. They now have 2 first-round picks, 11 and 23. Why? They are trying to trade up probably to number 3, get where the Patriots are right now, and try to get, I'm going to assume Caleb Williams goes 1 to the Bears and Jaden Daniels goes 2 to the Commanders. Get Drake May, or maybe if it's Drake May that goes 2, try to get Jaden Daniels at number 3. That would be a good fit with Kevin O'Connell, actually, if he's available. But that is what I think right now the Vikings are trying to do. That's what they've been telegraphing with the moves they had made this week. That's a lesson we learned from the first week of NFL free agency. They are drafting a quarterback. It's not a lesson, but I think the best fit, like we had a lot of big names, right? Kirk Cousins, Christian Wilkins, a lot of big names, Saquon Barkley, were on the free agent market. My favorite fit, the guy that I fits not only the team culture, but also what this team needed in the worst way, the best, Derrick Henry to the Ravens. The Ravens running backs for years have been decimated, have been injured, have been banged up. I feel like every single year, J.K. Dobbins out for the year, and then Gus Edwards and Justice Hill are now your bell cow backs, and then they get hurt. And you're asking, Keaton Mitchell, like, there are so many running backs in the rotation, it feels like every single year for Baltimore, that now they find they said enough's enough. No more often injured running backs. We are getting ourselves a durable back, and that is exactly what they got in Derrick Henry. Derrick Henry, despite the fact that he has led all the NFL in carries 4 of the last 5 years, he has missed just more than one game, in a season, one time in his career. That's it. He has been the face of durability in Tennessee, and now he's bringing that durability down to Baltimore. Or I guess across to Baltimore, right, if you want to get the geography correct there. That's a perfect fit. A durable, tough, physical, between the tackles running back is exactly what the Ravens need and exactly what they have been missing for the last few years of Lamar. I love this fit so much. And I think at least for 2024, this is exactly what they need. I'm not bullish on Derrick Henry long term, but this is a guy for at least in 2024. That is by far the perfect fit. The last lesson I want to talk about here from the first week of NFL free agency is this. The cap is real. I know we have all these conversations of, the salary cap's fake and look all this money you move around. This past offseason should have just showed you right now. The cap is real. Ask the Buffalo Bills, who have not signed a ton of free agents and have had to cut a lot of guys to get under the cap. They had the worst cap situation going into free agency. Ask the Dolphins, who are trying to win a Super Bowl, yet couldn't retain the best defensive player on their team in Christian Wilkins because his price tag was too high. They couldn't even franchise him because their cap was so bad that number would have pushed them over the top. Ask those teams if the cap is real. Even the Chargers, I think they're doing the right thing by moving off of Mike Williams and trading Keenan Allen and probably moving off of Khalil Mack as well. But they are making those moves in part because their cap situation is not very good. And so now they have to move off injured but still talented players to get cap compliant. You could say the cap is not real. Those teams right there just demonstrated to you, even in a year where the cap went up higher than anyone thought, the cap is real. Those are the lessons we learned from the first week of NFL free agency. I got to tell you, Ryan Botcher doing a great job producing today. I thought it would be a good idea to dress in a festive St. Patrick's Day, fashion. Wearing an Irish sweater. If you want to check it out, CBS Sports Radio YouTube page is where we are streaming the show live right now. So you can watch the show. I got this. I went to Ireland last summer. Got this Irish sweater right directly from the source in Ireland. Thought it was a good idea. This is the day to wear it. I am sweating. This thing is heavy. And as someone who moves their arms a lot, I mean, the studio is like 68 degrees, which I thought would be cool enough. The Irish sweater's been a bad idea. I am sweating right now.
You look like you should be in like a winter Christmas film.
Oh, do the green pants as well? Do they kind of, well, minus the black socks, but the green pants help
A little bit. You look like Chris Evans in Knives Out.
Okay, I have not. No. Is that the one with there's another one, Knives with 007?
Yeah, it's him, but the first one.
Oh, I think I saw the second, the spy one.
The Glass Onion or
yes,
Knives Out?
Glass Onion. Thank you. That's
okay.
The one
The first one, you look like Chris Evans in that one.
Okay, I gotta look it up. I hope that's a compliment. I'll take your. I don't know.
It's the festive sweater.
Okay, that's what we're going for. It's St. Patrick's Day. You gotta dress in the spirit. Anyone can wear green. I chose today to wear an Irish sweater, but boy, oh boy, am I paying for it. We're gonna lose a few pounds. When we return, the Steelers are getting a lot of praise. Do they deserve it? We'll discuss next. Ryan Hickey on CBS Sports Radio.
You're in a 5-minute break. Four minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Four minutes remaining. Three minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Three minutes remaining. Two minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Two minutes remaining. 1 minute, 30 seconds remaining. One minute remaining. Forty-five seconds remaining. Seconds remaining. Fifteen seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds.
Looking for a man after midnight? You've come to the right place. It's Hick at Night with Ryan Hickey.
And welcome on into Hick at Night with you right here on CBS Sports Radio. Appreciate you making us a part of this St. Patrick's Day and Selection Sunday right here on CBS Sports Radio. It was a great day. Honestly, it was a great weekend. We got Selection Sunday. We have the field set for the NCAA Tournament. We are a few days away now from some of the best weeks on the sporting calendar. And also St. Patrick's Day, a great weekend to be Irish or a great weekend to pretend to be Irish. Celebrate. A few of my friends from college who don't live in the area came up to New York City, so it was awesome to see them. We had a great day. It was just beautiful in New York City yesterday. Went to the Comedy Cellar on Friday night. Had a rare Friday night free. Usually I work nights on Friday, so took Friday off. It was a lot of fun. A great weekend for yours truly. And hopefully it was a great weekend for you as well. If not, well, we're here to make it better. We are here to make it better. And thank you for making us a part of your day, whether it's ending and winding down the weekend or getting the work week cranked up. Thank you for spending it with us. So as you look really from the weekend, right, kind of look at it in totality, one team that's getting a lot of praise is the Pittsburgh Steelers. And especially for this move after they traded for Justin Fields, I've read a lot of reaction and a lot of praise going towards Pittsburgh. Oh, they fleeced the Bears. What an offseason they're having. This is a great offseason so far for the Pittsburgh Steelers. I don't think the Pittsburgh Steelers actually improved this offseason. Like, to me, like, I still view them the same today as I did this time last week. Not a playoff team. Because here's what they really did. This is what the Steelers did this offseason. All they did was add 2 quarterbacks nobody wanted. And for me, all you were doing then is just rearranging the deck chairs on the Titanic. You acquired big names, but did you actually acquire a quarterback or quarterbacks that can help get your team further than they did last year with Mitch Trubisky, Kenny Pickett, Mason Rudolph? My answer is no. I mean, the names changed, but does the production? Maybe slightly, but to me, not enough to move the needle on the Steelers going into 2024. I mean, Russell Wilson, who, by all reports as well, is going to be still the starter, at least going into week number 1, despite the Justin Fields trade. Russell Wilson, I think, for me at this point, his ceiling is average. I think with what we've seen in terms of physical decline, in terms of play style, I don't think he's capable at this point in his career of being more than the 15th, 16th, 17th best quarterback in the NFL. That's it. I think now because he's someone who, he doesn't really work within the constructs of the offense. He's someone that I think just looks to throw the ball deep down the field too often and does not have very good decision-making skills anymore, runs out of the pocket way earlier than he should. You look at how he played in Denver, even with a really good offensive mind in Sean Payton, I never watched that Broncos offense and said, wow, explosive. Wow, they are dangerous. Wow, this is even consistent. That was a roller coaster, and even during some of the best times of Russ last year with Sean Payton, it never felt like it was sustainable or like that it was dangerous. Dangerous, to steal his phrase. Never felt that way. So that's why I like when I watch Russ, and this is coming from someone, by the way, who is a big Russ supporter, who, can't say it without a straight face because it brings laughter every time, who picked the Broncos to win the Super Bowl 2 years ago. The first year that Russ got to Denver with Nathaniel Hackett. That blew up in my face. But I was someone who even doubled down, not picking them to win the Super Bowl last year, but I thought the Broncos would be one of the 7 playoff teams in the AFC. I thought Sean Payton would get the most out of Russ, and Russ still had enough in the tank to be a playoff caliber quarterback. I'm wrong about that. Russ is not a playoff caliber quarterback anymore. I think, to me, he's nothing more at this point than average. So the Steelers added an average quarterback, and then they also added Justin Fields, who, sure, you could look at the price tag of, oh, wow, so cheap, like what a steal. But if he was so cheap, why did no one else trade for him? And there are plenty of teams right now that could have used Justin Fields' services. No one made a call. No one made a trade. Why? That should show you right now what the league thinks of Justin Fields. They're not high on him. They don't think his inconsistent and poor play was because of the Bears and the pieces they had around him. There's not a lot of belief right now in Justin Fields. And even if there was, with what the Steelers are doing in 2024, how could you even think that he could resurrect his career in Pittsburgh? Think about what he's being brought in to do. Mike Tomlin already, as being reported by NFL Network, already called Russ and told him, hey, you are still the starter. We are trading for Justin Fields, but you are still our QB1. So if you're the Steelers, you traded for Justin Fields with the intention of him not playing. So you have a 1-year rental because there's no way in hell you're picking up Justin Fields' $25 million fifth-year option. There's no way. Even with Russ on the cheap deal, you're not spending $25 million next year to guarantee that Justin Fields will be in your team. So they're going to, without a doubt, decline Fields' fifth-year option. So this is going to be his final year before he goes back on, or he goes to, I should say, not back. He goes to the free agent market. So you got 1 year of Justin Fields on your team with the thought of being he's not going to play. And if, God forbid, Russ gets hurt or is inconsistent, let's say, and midway through the year they make a switch, is 8 or 9 games going to be enough to be like, we got to sign Justin Fields now long term and figure out a contract extension? I don't think so. So I don't really see how Justin Fields is going to be on the roster for the Steelers in 2025. So they traded for a backup quarterback that you don't intend to play, that is probably going to be on a different team in 2025. What did you actually accomplish? What was the big goal there? Why all the praise for a move that, again, is for nothing more than a backup? I don't really understand it. There was a lot of parading for the Steelers on Saturday when the news came down that they were trading for Justin Fields. And with the acquisition of Russ, with telling him he's QB1, I don't see, again, the benefit or the upside of when Fields is going to play and how he'll develop in just a short time by the time you have to figure out a contract next offseason. So, yes, they did upgrade from what they had, right? Justin Fields and Russell Wilson, even though I'm down on Russ in terms of what he could be again. In terms of Justin Fields, I still think he has talent to where if he's in the right system, I think he does have a chance of succeeding. I just don't think that situation in Pittsburgh is right for him to where he's going to revive his career. Even though I'm down on that signing and not high on Russ, it is an upgrade. Like, those two quarterbacks are better than Pickett, Rudolph, Trubisky, without a doubt. So the quarterback room got better for Pittsburgh last year compared to this upcoming year. But even though it got better, what did it really accomplish? Again, I don't think the Steelers are right now a playoff team. So if you're not a playoff team, why are we praising Pittsburgh? Like, what did they actually do outside of, again, what I would say rearranging the deck chairs on the Titanic? What do they really accomplish? Like, look at their division. Now, it's tough, but it's a reality that I would say the AFC North is the best division in the NFL going into 2024. Browns, Ravens, Bengals. All three to me better than the Steelers. So we're talking about the Steelers right now, the worst team still after these moves. After bringing in Russ, after trading for Justin Fields, the worst team with the worst quarterback in their division. And you look at the rest of the AFC picture, are they one of the 7 best teams? I don't think so. I would say right now, Bills, Dolphins, Bengals, Ravens, Browns, Texans, Chiefs. 7 teams right there off the bat better than Pittsburgh. Maybe they make the playoffs like they did last year, where a quarterback goes down. Some injury luck also benefits them as well, and they sneak their way as a 7 seed into the playoffs. Okay, you make the playoffs. Are you a threat? Hell no. So, what's the point then? Mike Tomlin's not won a playoff game since 2016. What's the point of just sneaking into the playoffs every year? How is that an accomplishment? How is that a positive? I don't see how that's the case. And that, to me, is like the best case now for the Steelers. Another 7 seed. Sure, you make the playoffs. Can you win a playoff game? No. And then you're back to the drawing board of what to do in 2025. So that's why I'm just confused, and I don't understand the praise that I have seen the Pittsburgh Steelers getting, not only this week, but especially in the last 24 hours after the news of the Justin Fields trade went public. You traded for a backup quarterback. You traded for a quarterback no one else wanted to back up a guy in Russ that I think is nothing more than average. So what'd you actually accomplish? Where are all these good feelings for the Pittsburgh Steelers coming from? They got some bigger names. I would say, from my perspective, they're more intriguing. I'm definitely more excited to watch the Steelers next year than I was at any point last year. That's for sure. I'll give them that. They are more intriguing. I am looking forward to seeing what this Steelers offense looks like compared to last year. But outside of the intrigue, outside of an upgraded quarterback, and maybe, again, their ceiling being sneaking into the playoffs as a 7 seed, I don't see how they got better. They got different names, upgraded their quarterback room, but I don't think they upgraded it enough to where this team is a threat to win the division or a threat to win a playoff game, let alone multiple playoff games. So to me, the Steelers are in the same spot they were last year and the last few years. An average team that is good enough with a break or two to sneak into the playoffs, but is nowhere near the top of the AFC and the top of the NFL in terms of competing for a Super Bowl. So that's why I don't understand the praise. I think it's misguided. I think all the Steelers did this offseason so far, in signing Russ and trading for Justin Fields, was just rearrange the deck chairs on the Titanic. Nothing more than that. This team to me is still the worst team in the AFC North. They are not a playoff team, and definitely not a threat. If they do sneak into the playoffs, not a threat to win a playoff game or give anyone a scare. What they actually accomplish? What is there to feel good about in terms of the Steelers moving forward here? 855-212-4227. 855-212-4227. How do you feel about the Steelers? You sign Russell Wilson to a dirt cheap contract. You trade Justin Fields or trade for Justin Fields. So now your quarterback room is different and better, but I don't think it's much better, which is why I really don't think the Steelers improved that much last year to this year. Do you disagree? Do you look at the Steelers right now as a better team today than they were last year with Russell Wilson and Justin Fields on their team? 855-212-4227. 855-212-4227. Ryan_Hickey, and the number 3 is where you can catch us on social media. How do you feel about the Steelers after their acquisitions this week of Russell Wilson and Justin Fields? 855-212-4227. I am not high. If you disagree, I'm not high on them. Jeez, I'm not high in general. I'm not a big weed smoker. I'm more of a drinker than a smoker. So I'm not high. You could test my urine. I am clean. But I'm also not high on the Steelers going into 2024. We'll get your thoughts on the state of Pittsburgh. Are you buying into the Steelers as a real threat now in the AFC with Russ and Fields manning their quarterback room? We'll get your thoughts, but also when we return. I would say, pretty negative on the Steelers last few minutes here. I do want to give them praise because something the Steelers did this weekend, I think, highlights the movement going forward for the rest of the NFL when it comes to the quarterback position. I'll tell you what that is when we do return. It is Ryan Hickey with you right here on CBS Sports Radio.
You're in a 5-minute break. Four minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Four minutes remaining. Three minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Three minutes remaining. Two minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Two minutes remaining. One minute, 30 seconds remaining. 1 minute remaining. .45 seconds remaining. .30 seconds remaining. .15 seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds.
Lived to crack open, I couldn't ignore the vague possibility of having hope in this insanity that we still could be, but we're stuck floating in between.
It's Hick at Night with Ryan Hickey.
It is Ryan Hickey with you right here on CBS Sports Radio. Welcome. Appreciate you joining us right here on this Sunday evening. Talking about right now, did the Steelers actually get better? Because I don't think so. This week, when it comes to quarterback, they signed Russell Wilson, really exactly a week ago at this time, that news broke. And then over the weekend, on Saturday, they announced they were trading for Justin Fields. So they upgraded the quarterback room because those two guys are better than the three quarterbacks that the Steelers had last year. But do they actually move the needle? My answer is no. I don't think the Steelers are that much better in 2024 than they were in 2023. I don't think they're a playoff team. I think their ceiling in 2024 is sneaking into the playoffs and getting eliminated in the first round. That's just like last year. That's it. And so that's why I'm confused with all of this Steelers praise that's been going on social media the last 24 hours, especially when the Russell Wilson, when the Justin Fields trade was announced. A lot of praise. Oh, the Steelers fleeced the Bears. Look at this. Justin Fields, Russell Wilson. Oh, my God. When is Fields playing? He's the backup to Russell Wilson. Fields, like Russ, is on a one-year deal. If Russ doesn't get benched because he's average, when is Fields going to see the field? How are you going to develop him if you do bench Russ midway through the year? How are you going to develop him in 7, 8, 9 games to the point where you can give him a contract next season because he's going to be a free agent? I don't see how. So I don't think the Steelers got much better. I think all they did was rearrange the deck chairs on the Titanic. Got some bigger and you could say better names in the quarterback room, but does it actually take the Steelers or make the Steelers that much more formidable? Does it raise their ceiling? Not enough to be, to me, a playoff team or do damage if they make the playoffs. So I don't think they're that much different today than they were yesterday. 855-212-4227. Love to hear your thoughts on that. Also, really fast, I do want to give the Steelers credit for one thing, and that's this. I give them credit for cutting bait on Kenny Pickett. I think it's, and you saw reporting, maybe this was false or maybe their mind changed quicker, but 2 years of Kenny Pickett in Pittsburgh after drafting him 20th overall. You could have easily sold yourself on, well, he needs more time. We blame the offense coordinator, Matt Canada. Let's see what he does with a new OC and Arthur Smith. Let's give Kenny Pickett one more year to truly see if he's a franchise guy. I give the Steelers credit in the fact that they said, screw it. He's not the guy. He's not good enough. We need someone else. 2 years is enough time to find out if someone is or isn't the guy. I think now more than ever, you can make a decision on if a quarterback is not the guy faster than ever. Look at Kenny Pickett. Was there anything in 2 years you saw from Kenny Pickett that said special, franchise quarterback, playmaker, top 10 QB in the league? There was no hint, no play, no drive, no game in the regular season that you said, wow, Kenny just right there flashed like he could be a top 10 quarterback in the league. 2 years is enough time. If you don't see it, see you later. I give the Steelers credit. I think too many times teams hold out hope, hold on too late, waste a year trying to hope that a quarterback can develop into being a franchise guy. Hope is not a plan. And if you're sitting there praying that this guy, turns it around or just want to give him one more year, the odds are he's not going to work out. You can't name me one top 10 quarterback in the league that needed more than 2 years to show he was special. Not one. Go through it. You saw early on, within 2 years, that guy has it. And if he doesn't show it, that means he doesn't. Credit to the Steelers for moving on and not wasting what would have been a total throwaway year in 2024 trying to see if Kenny Pickett's the guy or not, because the answer's already been determined. No. Props to Pittsburgh on moving on fast and needing just 2 years to give up on their first-round quarterback in Kenny Pickett. 855-212-4227. Do you look at the Steelers differently now that they have acquired Russell Wilson and Justin Fields? Are they truly a better team going into 2024 compared to where they were in 2023? I say no. What do you say? 855-212-4227. Let's go right to the source. Right to Pittsburgh, get a Steelers fan opinion. Nick is on the line. What's up, Nick?
Hey, what's going on? I'm actually sitting here right in front of Heinz Field, or Acrisure Stadium right now. So I'm getting these good vibes about Russ, cooking this fall, and I'm actually very up on it.
Okay, let's hear why.
Because, look at what they had last year, obviously. They went 10-7. They were 5-1 in the division. Obviously, Joe Burrow, they didn't face him, but they were 5-1 in their division. They ended up 10-7 with terrible quarterback play. So now if you get just competent quarterback play, with an offense that's going to be running the ball a lot. It's an Arthur Smith style offense. You got Najee, you got Warren. Obviously, you're going to need to get more wide receiver depth. You're going to need help here and there in the draft and free agency and whatnot. But I think it's just, you couldn't have not improved at quarterback, and they did. So I don't see how you are saying they're not going to be better.
I agree, Nick. They improved. They, again, absolutely improved. Those two guys, appreciate the call. Enjoy the view of Heinz Field. That is pretty cool. Thank you for calling from there. It feels like we're right there at the source. They have improved their quarterback play, or their quarterback room, I should say, this year compared to last year. But I don't think it's by that much. That's the thing. They were 10-7. But also, you just kind of highlighted, Nick, you look at that 10-7. They were 5-1 in the division, in which you had Joe Burrow out for a majority of the year. You had 10 different Browns quarterbacks taking snaps for them throughout the season. The last game of the year against the Ravens, they sat all their starters in that game as well. So it's that 5-1 record, I don't think is you'll be able to duplicate that again in 2024. And also, too, I think the rest of the AFC is getting better, especially with the fact that quarterbacks are going to be healthier. So it's I think the rest of the conference is now getting healthy and better, and I just don't see the Steelers, I don't think they made that much of an improvement. Russ is competent, but I also think he's average. Justin Fields is not going to see the field. And he has so much growth in terms of development. He's not stepping into the field week 9, week 10, week 11 if Russ gets hurt or gets benched. He's not stepping in and immediately hitting the ground running. I think he does have to kind of play through it, get a rhythm, get a feel for the offense. That's not like instant oatmeal where you put him on the field and all of a sudden, boom, he's a great QB or a really good quarterback. There's a lot. While they improved, I don't think they improved that much where, again, outside of me, I don't think they're a playoff team, but right now, if they are making the playoffs, I think it's exactly like last year. Sneaking in, injury luck, biting other teams and benefiting the Steelers, and you make the playoffs, and then you're out in the first round. So that's not an improvement. Not much better. The names are better. but I don't think by that much. Russ's average, and that to me is his ceiling. That's like I think the highest he can get. Not much more than that. Chuck's calling from Miami. What up, Chuckster?
What they do, man? Call from the MIA. You talking about who didn't do that? You got Tua. I'm from MIA. I live around the corner from the stadium. You talking who to do what? He got all the stats in the world, but he ain't won nothing.
Yep.
He hasn't won nothing, bro. Now he's going to get a bag of money because they got to sign him because that's the best that they have. And he playing with all the weapons in the world. So don't go with Justin ain't. Justin Fields is a good quarterback. Don't listen. If Justin was at the Dolphins, believe it or not, they'll do better because he can buy time. Tua can't even slide for a 1-yard first down.
What Tua does, though, better than Justin Fields is, Chuck, and you know this, Tua is a quick decision maker. I'm not sitting here telling you I'm very down on Tua. Honestly, I thought after the Bills game, that should have been the last, well, I guess you used to have the playoff game, but that for me, that Bills loss week 18 confirmed right there, Tua ain't the guy for you. So I agree there, but at least in this offense, Tua gets the ball out fast. He knows where to go with the ball. Justin Fields, more athletic, yes, but that's someone who really struggles reading the field, holds the ball a ton in part because he doesn't know where to go with the ball. And I don't see how that's going to improve because he right now is a backup. He is backing up Russ. He's not going to be playing. Yes, it does matter.
Listen. Bro, this guy here, listen, the league is a copycat league. They know this dude don't want to be hit. They know the team don't want him to be hit. Hey, 3rd and inches, this guy slides. Blum, he can't do anything. They know. That's why I told my buddy them, hey, the Dolphins supposed to go pay for the best backup in the world because when this guy go hurt, the team is done. When Tua go down, the team is done because they don't have they have Brissett.
Sure, and most teams are
backup.
Most teams are. Do you have a take? What's your Steelers take? You're high on Justin Fields? Is that the point of the call?
Bro, I always like Justin Fields coming out of Ohio. Ohio State. I've been like them, bro, because you know why? He go the stuff that Tua slide on, he can make it happen. Hey, that's a first down.
All right.
I'm telling you,
Chuck, we got to move on. We got to move on. I don't know what we lost the plot on that one. I'll be honest. We lost the plot. I thought we were getting into the Steelers and Justin Fields. Now we're talking about Tua sliding on 3rd and inches. That's what that conversation, devolved into there. Justin Fields is athletic, but this is also part of it. This is, again, my confusion. I'm seeing a lot of tweets, too, on social media. And Ryan_Hickey, the number 3, about Justin Fields in the future. What is the future of Justin Fields in Pittsburgh? This is the reality. He has a 5th-year option. They got to decide by May 2nd. It's $25 million. There is not a shot in hell the Steelers are picking up a $25 million 5th-year option on Justin Fields next year. No shot in hell. So he is going to be in his final year under contract for 2024. He's also going to be the backup quarterback. They've already said Russell Wilson is still QB1. So in Pittsburgh's eyes, the best case scenario is Russ plays all 17 games. Well, what does that mean for Justin Fields? You don't see him. How are you going to pay him? How are you going to re-sign him if you have no idea what he's got? How are you going to develop him? He needs development. He needs to play. I think part of right now his downfall in Chicago was the fact that he struggles reading the field. Maybe that's on coaching. Maybe that can be coached out of him, but it's hard to coach that out of someone in practice. You need real-life reps at full speed. And if he's a backup holding a clipboard, I don't see how he's improving. So what did those Steelers really do for the future of their quarterback position where they got a young guy on a 1-year deal that is going to be the backup, and then what? How are you going to pay him? You have no idea what he is. And then you're going to go into 2025 hoping maybe Justin Fields is the guy, but having no certainty. And even if he plays at some point this year, again, he's, to me, still a raw product where he's not stepping onto the field week 5 and hitting the ground running. There is development there. So it's not like it's just instant he's going to come in and play great. That's why I don't think the Steelers have improved that much. I don't think they've actually gotten better. 855-212-4227. 855-212-4227. To highlight my point when we return here, speaking of quarterback, yes, they upgraded, But where does now Russ rank in the AFC? Where does that quarterback room for the Steelers rank in the AFC? I'll tell you when we return. Ryan Hickey with you right here on CBS Sports Radio. Up now, though, with the latest CBS Sports Radio update is Peter Schwartz.
CBS Sports Radio. Sports Flash.
All right, let the madness begin. The number one seeds for the NCAA Tournament in the East. It's UConn, their number one overall. They will take on Stetson Friday in Brooklyn. In the South, Houston, number one. They'll battle Longwood Thursday in Memphis. West, North Carolina, they play Thursday in Spokane against the winner of Howard versus Wagner. In the Midwest, Purdue plays Friday in Indianapolis against the winner of Montana State and Grambling. So the first four matchups: Boise State, Colorado; Virginia, Colorado State; Montana State, Grambling, Howard, and Wagner. On the scoreboard, in the SEC title game, Auburn over Florida, 86-67. Big Ten title game, Illinois beat Wisconsin, 93-87. In the Atlantic 10 final, it was Duquesne over VCU, 57-51. And in the Ivy League final, Yale over Brown, 62-61. Now to the NBA. We'll start in Dallas, where the Nuggets and Mavericks were tied in the final seconds.
Jumping up and down, waving his arms. Cleveland looking, trying to get it to Luka. Instead, Kyrie turning. Does he have time? He got it away in time. He has! He has! And the Mavericks have won! And a stockpile at half court as Kyrie Irving gives the Mavericks a monstrous win against the Denver Nuggets, winning at 107-105.
Chuck Cooperstein on Mavericks Radio. Elsewhere, Hawks over the Clippers, 110-93. In overtime, Spurs 122, Nets 115. The Celtics over the Wizards, 130-104. Bucks 140, Suns 129. The Heat over the Pistons, 104-101. The Magic topped the Raptors, 111-96. NHL, Blues 4, Ducks 2. Penguins 6, Red Wings 3. Hurricanes over the Senators, 7-2. Rangers 5, Islanders 2, Golden Knights 3, Devils 1. The Blackhawks over the Sharks 5-2. The Jets beat the Blue Jackets 6-1. Golf, Scotty Scheffler wins the Players' Championship. I'm Peter Schwartz.
We like you. You like us. So why not friend us on Facebook? The meetup happens at facebook.com/CBS Sports Radio.
You're in a 5-minute break. Four minutes, 30 seconds remaining. 4 minutes remaining. Three minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Three minutes remaining. Two minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Two minutes remaining. 1 minute, 30 seconds remaining. One minute remaining. Forty-five seconds remaining. Thirty seconds remaining. Fifteen seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds.
This is Hick at Night. Here's Ryan Hickey.
Appropriate rejoin, Ryan. Walking on a dream. Because that's what I feel like a lot of Steelers fans and people back in the Steelers are doing this weekend after heaping praise after praise upon the Steelers for what they've done this week and upgrading their quarterback room. And while, yes, it is an upgrade, I don't think it's anything where like this trajectory, this team actually changes. You can have some better quarterback play, but it's like, are the Steelers, how I view them, any different today than it was yesterday? No. Best case scenario, get into the playoffs as the final team in the AFC and lose in the first round. I don't think right now they're a playoff team, but I think like that's their ultimate ceiling for 2024. I don't see how it's much better than that. In part, and hopefully this kind of maybe crystallizes it for some that think I'm crazy or disagreeing. When I say the Steelers have not improved this offseason, as a team, let me ask you this. Russell Wilson, QB1 for the Steelers going into 2024. Where does he rank in the AFC? The Steelers have the what quarterback in the AFC on their roster? I would say the 11th. Right now, there are 10 quarterbacks in the AFC alone better than Russ going into 2024. In no order. Patrick Mahomes or Russ? Who are you taking? Mahomes. Mahomes is better. Burrow's better. Allen is better. Herbert's better. Lamar is better. I would say Tua is better. Aaron Rodgers coming off of a torn Achilles, I would say he's better right now than Russell Wilson. Trevor Lawrence coming off a bad 2023 or Russ, I would take Trevor Lawrence. I think at this point, even Deshaun Watson and C.J. Stroud are better than right now Russ. Those are 10 guys right there that I feel better about and I think will be better than Russell Wilson in 2024. So the reality is the Steelers added the 11th best quarterback in the AFC, which is maybe an upgrade from, 13, 14, 15, and added a backup of Justin Fields who nobody wanted, who they practically had to give away in order to get him off the roster. That's why I don't think the Steelers improved that much. And that's why I'm confused and don't understand it and think it's flat out wrong of the praise going Pittsburgh's way when the dressing is different. If you want to use a house analogy, the outside of the house looks great. Maybe it's a nice paint job. The front door looks good. You open the door and you go to the house and it's still crap. The inside of the house is falling apart. The outside may look pretty, like seeing the name Russell Wilson as QB1 may look better than Kenny Pickett. But I don't think the production is going to be that much different. If you disagree, 855-212-4227. Let's get I want to hear a Ravens fan perspective on a division rival. Chris is calling from Baltimore. What's up, Chris?
Hey, Ryan. How are you doing tonight?
Doing good, man. Doing well. Thank you for asking. What's on your mind?
Yeah, I've been listening to you. I can assume that the Steelers, because, look, they're my arch enemy. Signing Mason, you never know what he wanted. They probably made him an offer. And in him as a URA, he walked. But when they got Russell, what are they paying him? $1 million?
Yep.
And the same with Justin. They've got him on the last year of his rookie contract. They're only paying him about $3 or $4 million. So they got two quarterbacks for $4 million. That gives them a lot of money to invest and maybe bring in the offensive line along or the running backs or a wide receiver, which, they need. And that was in my opinion, I don't think that's really a bad move because Justin Fields, he needed a way out. Don't you agree?
No, I agree with that. And again, I think there are some landing spots where he could have been successful. I don't think Pittsburgh is one. Let me ask you this, Chris. Yes, they're paying their quarterbacks like something like $4.5 million. But
Denver's paying. Isn't Denver paying Russell Wilson a bulk of the money?
Yes. So that's what I'm saying. So the Steelers are paying Russ $1 million and like $3.5 million, whatever it is, for Justin Fields. So it's like under $5 million their quarterbacks are getting paid. But my question to you is, who are they bringing in with all this money? You mentioned receiver. They don't need running backs. They need receiver, offensive line. Who are you bringing in? Who is out there?
Honestly, they picked up Queen from Baltimore.
Yep.
And he was, in my opinion, I thought he wasn't very good. I thought he was mediocre.
You would know. He wasn't good until Roquan Smith came to town.
When they traded for Rohan from Chicago, right?
Roquan.
And they got him, he got a lot better. And then when they got Clowney, who was all-world, then he became all-world as well. So I really think unless he's got that kind of supporting cast, I think the Queen is a little overrated.
Well, in that defense, and thank you for the call, Chris. I mean, there's a lot of star-studded names on that defense for Pittsburgh, and that's what got them to the playoffs last year. And I think that's what's going to have to carry them to the playoffs this year. Like, again, you want to say, they have all this freedom now financially to bring in offensive linemen, to bring in receivers. Okay, who? Mike Williams is on the market. You want to bring him in? The guy can't play 3 games in a row without getting hurt. Who are you bringing in right now that's going to make this offense more deadly, more potent, more explosive? The offensive line market is not flush with talent. The receiver market on the free agency, at least, is not filled with, wide receiver ones out there. You don't have Justin Jefferson just sitting out there as a free agent. That's where I guess I'm lost with your point, Chris, of just like, yes, they have cheap quarterbacks, but there's not a lot of avenues right now for you to add better talent to this roster, specifically the offense. So where are you getting better? Who's making Russ better? Patrick's calling from Erie, Pennsylvania. What's up, Pat?
Hey, how's it going? Thanks for taking my call.
Thanks for making it, man. What's on your mind?
I'm just ecstatic that the Steelers actually did something. I was so scared that I was going to have to watch Pickett and hear everybody complain about how Rudolph should be playing for another year. I'm so glad that they just did something and they revamped it. You look at Russ's stats from last year. I think he had 28 touchdowns, which is almost 3 times as much as Pickett had.
26 touchdowns, 8 interceptions thank you for the call, Patrick, for Russ in 2023, which is more than all 3 quarterbacks for the Steelers combined. This is still crazy. 13 touchdown passes, 9 interceptions for Steelers quarterbacks combined last year, all 3. That's insanity. I think Chris is right Patrick, is right in the sense that, and the Steelers are more intriguing. Again, I'm excited now to watch the Steelers in 2024. I'm interested to see what Russ can do. I'm interested if Justin Fields plays, what he can do. But do I think it's going to equal team success? I don't. I don't know how this offense is getting that much better. Again, you are adding, remember, a guy in Russell Wilson. The Broncos are taking a record cap hit to get rid of. They are paying $40 million for him to not be on the roster. That's how bad they don't want him around. And now I'm supposed to believe that guy with a record dead cap hit and a $40 million salary that the Broncos are paying him to not be on the team, I'm now supposed to believe that guy is saving the Steelers season? That Justin Fields, who everyone had a chance to acquire and nobody did, now he's all of a sudden going to save the Steelers season? That's where I'm lost. I don't see how a quarterback room of Russ Fields, more intriguing, yes. More talented, yes, but by that much, no. That's why I don't think it changes the actual trajectory of the Steelers in 2024. They, to me, are not a playoff team in part because they are still the worst team in their division. John's calling from South Carolina. What's up, John?
Hey, well, I'm actually a lifelong Browns fan, retired down here. And
you tell me, John, how do you feel about the Steelers now?
Oh, I love it, man. I'm a Browns fan, and I think instead of deck chairs, they basically added 2 small buckets to try to save the Titanic. And the great thing, too, for us, until Mike Tomlin goes, they're always going to be 500 and never get big draft picks, high-round draft picks to get a really good quarterback out of college. So as a Browns fan, I'm just loving it to death. And I'll just take it off the air and leave it at that.
John, thank you. There you go. Guy in the division is going to play the Steelers twice. He's loving it. And that's why I can't believe I'm with John. That's the first call we've gotten this hour that is with me. Tweets, I got Patrick Farrell tweeting at Ryan_Hickey _3 talking about, Justin Fields' future. Maybe Fields will get his chance in August, he tweets. And in the preseason, if he shines and Russ stinks, not sure how Russ stays QB1. The Steelers have already told you Russell Wilson is the starter. There is not a scenario outside of injury in which Russ is not the starter week 1. What bar does Mike Tomlin have in order to bench Russell Wilson? I don't know. It took injury to bench Kenny Pickett. Is he going to take injury to bench Russell Wilson? And again, if that's the case, and it's after 5 games, after 10 games, how much are you getting from Justin Fields in a short sample size when he's going to be back on the free agent market again in 2025? You didn't really, I don't think you fixed your quarterback position for the short term in 2024 in the sense of it's better than Pickett, Trubisky, and Rudolph. What is it actually saying, though? We just went through the exercise. I could say right now, conservatively, Russ is the 11th best quarterback in the AFC. How many playoff games are you winning with the 11th best QB in your conference? My answer is 0. And that's why I don't think the Steelers actually got that much better in 2024, despite changing the names and despite slightly improving the quarterback position. I think Russ has a ceiling that's no higher than average. And Justin Fields needs development, and it's going to be a backup for 2024. And then a free agent in 2025. So what are we doing? What did the Steelers actually accomplish? I don't think anything. That's why I don't think they got better in 2024. When we return, college basketball, the brackets are out. Who has the most pressure on them? I'll tell you next. It's Ryan Hickey, CBS Sports Radio.
You're in a 5-minute break. Four minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Four minutes remaining. Three minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Three minutes remaining. Two minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Two minutes remaining. One minute, 30 seconds remaining. 1 minute remaining. $45 seconds remaining. $30 seconds remaining. $15 seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds.
He's up all night with you.
We could do this all night.
Welcome aboard. It's Hick at Night with Ryan Hickey.
Welcome on into Hick at Night with you right here on CBS Sports Radio. A very happy St. Patrick's Day to you and a happy Selection Sunday to you as well. What a hell of a combo. My goodness, if you are celebrating the Irish culture today and you got the bracket reveal, boy, oh boy, it's a good day. And you know what? That just actually sparked an idea. I'm trying things out this year for March Madness, trying a few different things this year. So one idea I had to fill out a bracket would be, I'm going to do a coin flip. You know, heads is, let's say for this example, well, maybe not this game because I'm not going to be an idiot and pick Stetson to upset UConn. But maybe, you know, once you get a little bit deeper into the bracket, maybe do a coin flip and just see, flipping a coin 50-50, how does a random selection, how will I do in that bracket by flipping heads for the top seed and tails for the bottom seed and just doing what the coin tells me to. I'm experimenting with that, but just the thought I just said before of St. Patrick's Day Selection Sunday, I had a thought of maybe I should just get drunk. You know, have like, I don't know, since it's St. Patrick's Day, like 10 Guinnesses and then try to fill out the bracket and just be so inebriated out of my normal state of mind and see maybe if that helps me pick some winners this year. It was a rough bracket last year. 2 years ago, big winner, no big deal. But last year was rough, and many years it's been very rough. So maybe that, I don't know how I'm going to, I'm working every day now going forward. I don't know how I'm going to get drunk and try to do picks. Maybe I got to do something different there. But that's a thought for you. If you don't trust your picks, you suck every year, you want to try something different, there you go. Get loaded, and obviously responsibly, of course. And maybe pick your bracket that way and just see how your drunk self would do compared to your normal sober self. There we go. We are trying new ideas how to help you win your bracket in 2024. Speaking of which, now that the brackets are revealed, my biggest takeaway or the biggest storyline, I should say, the biggest storyline I am looking forward to this March Madness is the run of the Purdue Boilermakers. Because I think for me, they have the most pressure on them of any team in the tournament. And if they don't make the Final Four, I think Matt Painter should be fired. Purdue should fire their coach if they do if they come short of anything before the Final Four. Because this is a team where this is finally, like if you were ever going to break through if you're Purdue, years and years of regular season success followed by years and years of postseason failure. If you are ever going to break through and make a Final Four and actually contend truly for a national title, this is the year. This is handmade, tailor-made for you. Don't just take my word for it. We had Brian Bennett on the show earlier tonight. Does a tremendous job covering, writing, reporting, bracketologist for The Athletic. I asked him, Brian, are you feeling like this is the year? You feeling pretty good about Purdue breaking through, making the Final Four? Here's Brian's answer.
Feeling pretty good. And obviously they lost yesterday. But, I look at the matchups they have. And granted, you would have looked at last year's matchups and think, Fairleigh Dickinson, that's a pretty good matchup. But, you look at the teams that are in the bracket, they've already beaten Gonzaga. They've already beaten Tennessee. Kansas is beat up. South Carolina is a decent team that has no experience in the tournament.
Mm-hmm.
Creighton, I think, will maybe be the toughest matchup for them just because they have a big and Ryan Kalkbrenner who could really match up with Zach Edey, but he's pretty much the only big they have, and Zach Edey fouls everybody out. So, honestly, if you can't get through this bracket, if you're Purdue, I don't know when you're going to have a better opportunity than this.
I agree with Brian in that sentiment. This is the best shot for Purdue. You look at what they have going for them. They have a guy in Zach Edey who probably is going to win Player of the Year again and join an elite list of players that have won multiple Player of the Year awards throughout their career, leading all of college basketball in scoring. Edey's been tremendous. You have an experienced team. Like, this has been a connected team where, they returned a lot of guys from last year. They have, experience. Like, they are a team that's not turning over and learning each other. This is a cohesive group. And you do have, I would say, of the 4-1 seeds, the easiest path to the Final Four. You just heard Brian talk about it. Doesn't really feel good about anyone else in the Midwest bracket. But despite all of that, despite a guy in Brian who knows what the hell he's talking about, and someone I agree with that if it's not going to be this year for Purdue, I don't know when it's going to be, I still don't think it's happening. I still can't sit here. I'm not picking Purdue to go to the Final Four because they are not a team that's built to win in March. Their playing style is not conducive to it. They're not athletic enough. They don't shoot enough threes. And they consistently play down to their competition come this time of the year. And I don't know, there's nothing I have seen this year that has me believing this year is going to be different than any past years. Look at Purdue under Matt Painter in March during his time with the Boilermakers. This has been a team that in 15 years, this is going on year 16. This is the ninth time in 16 years for Matt Painter at Purdue that they've been a top 4 seed in the tournament. And you know what's that produced? Despite consistently being a top seed, getting favorable matchups, that has produced a grand total of 0 Final Four appearances, 1 Elite Eight, and 5 different times they have lost to a double-digit seed, including the last 2 years where you lose to St. Peter's, a 15 seed, and then last year followed that up by losing to a 16 seed in Fairleigh Dickinson in round number 1 and becoming the second team ever as a 1 seed to lose to a 16. That is who Purdue is under Matt Painter. I've not seen anything that has me thinking anything's different's going to happen this year. And that is why, with this path, with this talent, if we are talking about another early exit for Purdue, which is before the Final Four, I don't know how you employ Matt Painter next season. You have to fire him. We play for championships, right? When it comes to judging how good a coach is, if he's the right guy for it, what are we playing for? Are we playing for regular season success and relevancy? Or are you playing to win a championship? I know for me, I'm playing to win a championship. I could care less about Big Ten regular season titles and number 1 seeds if it means consistently falling short and getting upset in March. Winning the Big Ten regular season does nothing if you are out in the second round of the tournament. And that's been Purdue's story. That's who they've been. And so if you are a team, if you are a university that's in it to win championships at a school like Purdue, I don't see how you can truly sell me that you are trying to win a national title and then yet still employ Matt Painter. Can't do it. There is no team with more pressure on them than Purdue. And because nothing has changed, because it is, that feels like it is the definition of insanity right now, where Purdue has kept doing the same thing over and over and over again. They have kept the same playing style. They've recruited similar body types. The names change. The faces change. You know what doesn't change? The results. And so now when you look at this bracket, with some beatable teams in Tennessee, who you talk about not getting over the hump, that's been Rick Barnes' bugaboo now for a while. It helps when you have Dalton Connect, SEC Player of the Year, on your team this year and healthy. But that's been, Rick Barnes is his big hurdle has been winning the big game. He struggled with that. Creighton, solid, but again, Purdue is better. Kansas beat up, limping into the tournament. Like this Midwest bracket for Purdue is, the easiest of any one seed that they have. That any one seed has, I should say. But yet, Purdue has made a habit. All they have done is lose to inferior teams year in and year out. It's one thing if we're sitting here talking about Matt Painter and Purdue losing to the national champs every single year. Playing great and just running to a buzzsaw in the Elite Eight, in the Sweet 16. What they're not doing is only losing to those teams. They're losing to Fairleigh Dickinson and VCU as a double-digit seed and St. Peter's as a 15 seed. And not even getting past those, what should be layups, cupcakes, if you will. That's why I just don't understand how Purdue can seriously be all about winning championships, yet still employ Matt Painter if we are talking about a Purdue team that at the end of this weekend or at the end of next weekend has their season over with. It is truly bare minimum, Final Four or bust. But with that said, it feels like the definition of insanity to pick Purdue to actually, go far and be a threat. Like, I was shocked. I'm sure like most of you, I was sitting there on the couch, 6 p.m. Eastern, watching the CBS selection show. And afterwards, I was hearing the analysis. Jay Wright, a tremendous basketball mind. Clark Kellogg, legend, great analyst, watches the games, knows what the hell he's talking about. I really enjoy his perspective. And I love Seth Davis. I think he's fair. I think he's smart. Again, as someone who watches all the games, those are 3 of the best minds college basketball has. All in the same set for CBS, all giving you their instant reaction and analysis once the brackets were released. I was shocked. All 3 of them picked Purdue to be in the Final Four. And I'll be honest, as I'm watching that, I'm sitting there saying, wow, I can't believe it, but it's true. I am smarter than Seth Davis, Jay Wright, and Clark Kellogg when it comes to Purdue. I can't believe all 3 of them are putting Purdue in their Final Four. They are not seeing what I'm seeing, which is a team that is not built to win in March and is not different than they've been in previous years when they have lost consistently to double-digit seeds and have failed to get over the hump. Every year it happens with Purdue. This is the year. They're going to finally break through. This is the year. This is not the year. They are not any different. That's part of the reason why I think Purdue needs a coaching change. It needs to fire Matt Painter if we're talking about Purdue's season ending before the Final Four. Part of it is recruiting and play style. It doesn't fit. Purdue's style does not fit March basketball. They continue to try to fit a square peg in a round hole and think it's going to work. It's not going to work. And that's why I was just confused and shocked. The 3 of the smartest basketball minds that I think we have right now in this country all are blinded by the fact of Purdue's regular season success, and they think it's going to translate over. It's not. It is absolutely not. Not this year, not ever. So I think Purdue has by far the most pressure on them in the tournament. They are also the team I trust the least. I don't think, even though the path is there for them to go to the Final Four, I don't think they're making the Final Four. And when that happens, I think Matt Painter needs to be fired. I'd love to hear your thoughts on that. 855-212-4227. 855-212-4227. Are you buying into Purdue? Jay Wright, Seth Davis, Clark Kellogg, all 3 of those guys buying into Purdue. They think this is the year the Boilermakers break through and at least make the Final Four. I don't see it. I've seen this movie once. I've seen it a million times. I'm not going to sit there thinking the ending this time is going to be different, that the bad guy, is not going to win. I know how this movie ends, and it ends with another early exit from Purdue in the NCAA tournament. 855-212-4227. Are you trusting Purdue? Is this the year the Boilermakers finally do break through? And also, on that note, which team do you think has the most pressure on them? Who has the most to prove in these next few weeks during the tournament? 855-212-4227 at Ryan_Hickey and the number 3. We'll get your thoughts in when we return. Come on. Think I was going to go any further without giving you my picks? You know who I'm not picking? Purdue. But when we return, I'll give you my national champ and Final Four selections. We'll do that when the show does return. It is Hick and Nite. Ryan Hickey with you right here on CBS Sports Radio.
You're in a 5-minute break. Four minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Four minutes remaining. Three minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Three minutes remaining. Two minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Two minutes remaining. One minute, 30 seconds remaining. One minute remaining. 45 seconds remaining. Thirty seconds remaining. 15 seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds.
It's Hick at Night with Ryan Hickey.
March is upon us. Welcome on in. Ryan Hickey with you right here on CBS Sports Radio, breaking down right now the brackets. I think right now, for me, the biggest storyline I am watching in these next few weeks is the fate of Purdue. Because I think for me, they have the most pressure on them of any team in the tournament. And I think anything short of a Final Four appearance should result in the loss of Matt Painter's job. I'm no sucker. I'm an idiot. I have some wrong picks. What I am not is a sucker. I'm not getting suckered in to Purdue this year. They have showed who they are. And for me, even though there's a path there that is reasonable for them to make a Final Four appearance for the first time under Matt Painter, I don't see it. I don't trust him. I don't think this team is built to win in March. So I'm going to do what my eyes tell me. Not believe in them. I don't think Purdue's making the Final Four. They, for me, are the team with the most pressure. They also, though, for me, are the team that has, the most to prove during this tournament. And I think if they don't make it a Phoenix, Matt Painter should be fired. Speaking of Phoenix, we get your thoughts on that here at 855-212-4227 in a second here. But what I also want to talk to you about is my picks. If it's not going to be Purdue, then who? For me, my champ, the Houston Cougars. I think this is finally the year Kelvin Sampson and the Cougs do break through and win a national title. I love watching this team. They are truly an elite defensive team. They're the best team in terms of shutting you down in the country. I love their experience. They're tough. They win in they win in different ways. They're battle-tested, 16 quad one wins. So they play a lot of good teams. They beat a lot of good teams. First year in the Big 12, a really, really good basketball conference. Coming from the AAC. Regular season champs. No big deal. Go right in there, win the regular season right off the bat. They are legit. I'm taking the Cougs to win the national title. Joining them in Phoenix, my Final Four, UConn, who is just so good. I mean, they've showed no signs of slowing down, and clearly, not that this was a thought, but clearly showed last year's not a fluke. They are going nowhere. Super talented. I think they'll get back in the Final Four. They'll be joined by, I'm going to go with Alabama out of the West region. I love Alabama's offense. High flying, kill you with the three. I think that offensive style of basketball, even though their defense is questionable. But if you want to get in a shootout with Alabama, I like that style. I think that does work here. Give me the Crimson Tide to make the Final Four. And let's get nuts here. Fourth and final team in the Final Four. McNeese State. Let's get nuts. That's the Purdue region, Midwest. I like Will Wade as a head coach, but also, that pick is kind of in part because I don't trust anyone else in that side of the bracket. Purdue, we just talked about for the first 20 minutes. Well, I don't think this is their year to go to the Final Four. You look at Tennessee, Rick Barnes' big thing is can't win the big game, can't get over the hump. Creighton is solid. Kansas is banged up, limping into the tournament. Like there's not a team on here I see that I truly, like. Oregon, hot winning the Pac-12, but I do get scared because I feel like more times than not, those teams that have to go on the run and win their conference tournament in order to get in the tournament waste a lot of energy. And I'm afraid Oregon's legs are going to be tired. And even though they are right now a hot team, I don't think that's going to carry over into a UConn, like with Kemba Walker, esque run that happened, was it 2009? When they won that national title. I don't think we're going to see that, similar run coming from the Ducks here in 2024. So it's like you look at the Midwest, there's not a team I trust. So let's get nuts here. Let's go McNeese State, led by Will Wade. See him in the Final Four. So a 1 in Houston, a 1 in UConn, a 4 in Alabama, and a 12 in McNeese State. Let's get nuts. Houston is my champ. 855-212-4227. 855-212-4227. Which team has the most pressure on them here in this upcoming tournament? And are you with me? If Purdue falls short of the Final Four, do you think they should fire Matt Painter? Dave's calling from Niagara Falls with some thoughts. What's up, Dave?
It's Barry.
Oh, Barry. My apologies, Barry. My bad. Well, what's on your mind, man?
Long time listener, first time talking to you. Listen, first of all, you want to be playing good ball going into the tournament. North Carolina State, the way they finished winning those games, I'm going to be watching them in the tournament. But listen, first of all, I'm a Syracuse fan, and with Jim Boeheim, coached Syracuse for 40 years, and in 2003 he won the national championship. And what a relief as a Syracuse fan. Every year when the tournament's on, I mean, if they don't win the tournament, it's a little bit of relief because they came close so many years and they finally win it. And anyways, you want them to win it every year. But anyways, it's not about Syracuse right now. It's about first of all Gonzaga, the coach of Gonzaga. How many years has he been coaching?
Mark Few a lot. I don't have the exact number off the top of my head, but he's been around a long time.
Okay, has he won a national championship yet?
No, he's not. He's been to one. Been to a few
Final
Final
Fours.
Fours.
There's another good example. Gonzaga. Like I just told you that 40 Jim Boeheim won championship for 40 years, and Gonzaga, I think it's been 25 years he hasn't won a national championship. And Purdue right now, man. I mean, they're getting there every year, and it's Ben, you said 16 years. Sooner or later, it's not easy to win a national championship. As one of your other sports guys was talking about, but sooner or later, Purdue's got to break through. Anyways, that's my opinion.
So, are you saying? What is your opinion? Like your point is what? Be patient.
I'm staying stick with Purdue's program right now. The head coach and everything. I mean, like I say, sooner or later they're going to win a national championship. It's not easy to win a national championship, and one of these years it's going to happen.
Dave, I appreciate. Or I'm sorry, Billy. I appreciate the call, and apologize for the botched name there to start. I mean, at this point with Matt Painter, he's been there long enough. I'm not sitting here telling you it's easy to win a national title. I'm not even sitting here telling you he has to win a national championship. We're talking about getting to the Final Four, winning 4 games in a row in March. It's hard. Don't get me wrong. But it's also like you're Purdue. He's been there now. This is year 16. This is the 9th time Purdue has had a top 4 seed. Like the sample size is huge. And also a big problem here for Purdue is the fact that they consistently lose to inferior teams. They consistently fall short against the likes of Fairleigh Dickinson and St. Peter's. No disrespect. But I have a tough time watching you lose to 5 double-digit seeds as you are consistently winning the regular season and thinking you are going to have success. James Rose does tweet at Ryan_Hickey and the number 3. Bro, are you high? No, not a smoker. Drinking is more my thing, but I am dead sober, I promise you. Dead sober. Bro, are you high? You waste an hour talking about Pittsburgh's garbage QB situation, then suggest Matt Painter be fired if he doesn't make a crazy run this year. You're clueless. Matt Painter is a top 5 coach in all of college basketball. I am clueless for the fact that I am suggesting that a guy be fired from a school in which you are trying to win a national championship, and the fact that all he's done in his time at Purdue, tournament-wise, is underachieve. Again, it's not like Mark Few with Gonzaga before he finally broke through and got to a Final Four has gotten close before. He's been to Elite Eights. He's suffered heartbreaking losses. I mean, Purdue is not even getting close. Again, this is the 9th time they were a top 4 seed. So that means they've been a top 4 seed 8 other times before this year. Despite the fact that they've had favorable matchups and a path to the Final Four, but even just the Elite Eight, they've been to 1 Elite Eight. 1 Elite Eight. That's it. 0 Final Fours, 1 Elite Eight, 5 times they've lost to a double-digit seed. So it's like, what? Like, you're not close. I don't see how I'm clueless when we're talking about a guy who's not close whatsoever. You're the one who's clueless, James. If you're sitting here trying to talk, tell me that I'm nuts about Matt Painter and his job security, when if you are trying to win a national title, Matt Painter has showed you now, year over year over year, he is not the guy to get it done. And especially now, you are giving him a 10th chance this season. If it doesn't happen this year, we had Brian Bennett from The Athletic on earlier in the show. He said, if not now, I don't know when. This is Purdue's best chance maybe ever to get to a Final Four. If we're talking about another early exit, what are we doing? Why are you wasting your time, especially when we all would agree regular season wins don't count nearly as much as postseason wins? Everyone that's listening, I promise you, would rather sign up to win a national championship than to win a regular season conference championship. So if we value postseason success over regular season success, why are we not making a move on a guy that consistently cannot get it done in the postseason? Baffling. Tony's calling from Washington. What's up, Tone?
Hey, on the Mark Few thing, I live in the state of Washington. I didn't even know what Dynamo Gonzaga existed until Mark Few. And I live in the state. So, he's a legend. I mean, and as for Painter, all you can ask is that you get a shot. I mean, Purdue's not Kentucky. Purdue's not Kansas. I mean, all you can wish for is your shot to get there. And he consistently gives them their shot. I mean, if he fails, but he's there. The grass ain't always greener on the other side, though. Thank you.
And Tony, I mean, we're not talking about Eastern Washington here in terms of, just give them a chance, get to the dance and call it a success. And Purdue is a storied basketball history. They are consistently one of the best teams in the regular season. And they yet underachieve every single year. That's why I'm honestly floored at the hesitancy. Floored. This to me seems honestly obvious. At this point, Purdue, because of especially their style and who they recruit, they're not built to win in March. And if you are truly a Purdue fan that wants to win a national title, I don't think anything's changing until you first and foremost start with the head coach. And I don't say you could justify bringing him back in 2024, or I guess really next year, we'll say. If we're talking about another early exit before a trip to Phoenix for the Boilermakers here in the next few weeks. Crazy. 855-212-4227. 855-212-4227. Which team do you think has the most to prove this March? And also, when we talk about Matt Painter and Purdue and right now their path to a Final Four and coming up short, and patience, are you with me? Should he be fired right now? If we were talking about another early exit for Purdue from the tournament, or are you still preaching patience that one day he'll get over the hump after what would be another big-time blown opportunity for the Boilermakers to get there? 855-212-4227. When we do return here, since we're talking about a team in Purdue I do not trust, how many teams do I actually trust come NCAA tournament time? I'll give you that answer when we do return. It is Hick at Night with you right here on CBS Sports Radio. Busy Sunday. Here to update you on all of it is Peter Schwartz.
Sports Flash.
Well, get your brackets ready. March Madness is upon us, and we have our number one seeds. UConn number one overall. They're number one in the East, and they'll take on Stetson in the first round Friday in Brooklyn. In the South, Houston's number one. They'll play in Memphis Thursday against Longwood. In the West, North Carolina is number one. They'll play Thursday in Spokane against the winner of the play-in game between Howard and Wagner. And in the Midwest, Purdue takes on the winner of the Montana-Grambling play-in game Friday in Indianapolis. Here are the first four matchups. We told you about Howard and Wagner and Montana State and Grambling. There's also Boise State and Colorado, Virginia and Colorado State. It is March sadness for St. John's. The Red Storm not selected for the tournament. Head coach Rick Pitino putting the snub into perspective.
You got to say that the committee did the best job they could. We weren't considered, but we've had a lot of firsts this year. We've had a lot of people that really, really enjoyed watching us play, and we move on.
But not to the postseason. Pitino said his team will not accept the bid to the NIT tournament. In the women's tournament, number one seeds South Carolina. They're number one overall. They're joined by Iowa, USC, and Texas as number one seeds. NBA, DeJounte Murray, 21 points, 10 assists. Hawks over the Clippers, 110-93. In overtime, the Spurs beat the Nets 122-115. The Celtics over the Wizards, 130-104. Bucks 140, Suns 129. Damian Lillard with 31 points, 16 assists. Heat over the Pistons, 104-101. Kyrie Irving hits a shot at the buzzer. Mavericks top the Nuggets, 107-105. The Magic beat the Raptors, 111-96. NHL, Blues over the Ducks, 4-2. Penguins 6, Red Wings 3. Wins for the Hurricanes, Rangers, Golden Knights, Blackhawks, and Jets. I'm Peter Schwartz.
This is Jim Rome. We are talking to the biggest names in all of sports in the jungle weekdays from 12 to 3 Eastern on CBS Sports Radio.
You're in a 5-minute break. Four minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Four minutes remaining. Three minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Three minutes remaining. 2 minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Two minutes remaining. One minute, 30 seconds remaining. One minute remaining. Forty-five seconds remaining. Thirty seconds remaining. Fifteen seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds.
It's Hick at Night.
This next award goes to somebody who really lights up the office. Somebody who I think a lot of us cannot keep from checking out. The hottest in the office award goes to Ryan the Temp. Yeah! Hey ho! You sexy thing, you.
Here's Ryan Hickey.
Hey, welcome on into the show where if you want to see what sexy things we're talking about, you can watch a stream right now. Live on CBS Sports Radio's YouTube channel. Just type in CBS Sports Radio and you could see me sitting here in my nice Irish sweater celebrating my Irish heritage here on St. Patrick's Day. Check out the show every single Sunday night streaming on CBS Sports Radio's YouTube channel. Also, if you want to see clips throughout the week from the show, but also just my reactions to news as it happens, YouTube is also the place to go. Check out my channel, Ryan Hickey is the name there, where you can check out a lot of video content on everything going on in the world of sports, both videos from this show and also videos I'll record during the week as well, located in one place. Ryan Hickey YouTube channel. Ryan Hickey is the name. All right, so we're talking about right now NCAA bracket released. The team I trust the least this March is the Purdue Boilermakers. I don't trust them whatsoever. I don't think this team is built to win in March. I don't think this year is going to be any different than previous years. We've seen plenty of Purdue teams be hyped up, get a high seeding, and then fall well short of expectations. Lose to double-digit seeds now routinely under Matt Painter in recent years. I don't think 2024 is going to be any different. This team's not built to win in March. They're not athletic enough. They don't shoot enough threes. They don't play a style that is conducive. That's why they've been getting picked off by inferior teams in previous years. I don't see a difference in 2024. Purdue is the team I trust the least. When it comes to teams I trust the most, I only have two teams. I only have two teams I feel really good about this March. Both number 1 seeds, UConn, Houston. That's it. UConn, I mean, they are an absolute machine. Offensively, defensively, so much talent throughout the roster. Good bench, great coaching. They are so freaking tough and consistent. Speaking of tough, though, that's what Houston is. Best defensive team in the country. I love their senior leadership as well. I think they get over the hump. I think they win the national title this year. But like when it comes to like feeling good about anyone else, I can't find even a third team. Like Illinois is a team I like. And depending on, I was thinking about during the day, like depending on where they're seated, like I'm like, okay, let's talk about Illinois here making a deep March run. Then they end up in the same bracket as UConn. I'm like, oh, well, there goes that. They're not beating UConn. They're not good enough to beat UConn. UNC, I don't really feel that good about in terms of their consistency. Like teams like Kansas, no. Marquette, no. I think they are behind Purdue, the second biggest frauds in this tournament, with how Shaka Smart's, teams have done outside of the VCU year. They've not done very well. There are not a lot of teams I feel good about. One team here, what? I'll circle one for you. One team that I think is going to make a pretty deep run here. We're talking like Elite Eight. Dark horse Final Four team, Michigan State. For one reason only, Tom Izzo. This is not a very good team, but damn it, come March, I feel like, especially recently, he has won a lot of games in which his team is the inferior team. And so now they have Mississippi State, in round number 1, UConn, if they win that game, UNC in round number 2. Like, I like the Spartans. In part because, as John Rothstein says, January, February, Izzo. This guy knows how to win in March, the opposite of Matt Painter. That's why I would be scared to death of Michigan State, because I feel like this is a team that no one's talking about right now that I think, be seeing a lot of on our screens the next few weeks. 855-212-4227, 855-212-4227. We talked a lot about Purdue in this hour. I feel like that's a team that should get a lot of attention because a lot of eyeballs are going to be on them, in part because a lot of people are believing this is the year that Purdue is going to break the seal, get over the hump, and make the Final Four. I don't think it's going to happen. If I'm right, really, when I'm right, they can't employ their head coach anymore. I think Matt Painter has to pay for what would be another failed season for the Purdue Boilermakers. Is that too harsh? Should Matt Painter's job be on the line in Purdue? If you think there's a coach or a team with more pressure on them than Purdue, 855-212-4227. Roger's call from Indiana. What's up, Raj?
What's happening?
How we doing, man? What's on your mind?
You know what? I couldn't agree with you more. Matt Painter has got to put up this tournament. He's got knocked out the first round the last couple of years. As a Purdue fan, I'm sick of it, man. They got to do something. Now, with that being said, Zach Edey's a senior. These point guards, they're sophomores now. Yep. They got a little more experience. They're more seasoned this year. And also the Big Ten, I don't know how much what's going on in the country, what they say about them, but it is competitive. There's not a weak team in the Big Ten. That's why, they just beat the crap out of each other all year long. So I expect them to go to the Final Four. I really do. I think.
You think this is the year they break through?
This is the best team I've ever seen them have. I played high school ball against Glenn Robinson back in the early 90s. I haven't seen a better Purdue team than what we got right now. If it's going to happen, this is our year.
All right, Roger. Hey, I appreciate you calling, buddy. Thank you for that. Thank you for that sentiment. And you're not wrong, by the way. Like, we had Brian Bennett on from The Athletic a few hours ago, early in the show. He agreed with exactly what you said. He's picking Purdue to go to the Final Four, and he also agreed that this is their best chance, both team-wise and path-wise. It is there for Purdue. But I made the analogy earlier, I'll say it again here. The Purdue Boilermakers, to me, are the college basketball equivalent of the Dallas Cowboys. I will never, no matter how good the regular season is, no matter where the hype is, I will never truly sit here and tell you that I can believe in a team until they do it. I will never pick the Cowboys to win a big playoff game. A wild card round, sure. But I would never sit here and pick the Cowboys to win a big-time playoff game, especially on the road, until they actually do it. They have lost me the benefit of the doubt, and same thing with Purdue. Purdue, in my mind, has lost the benefit of the doubt. And that's probably why I'm surprised and shocked. Jay Wright, Seth Davis, Clark Kellogg, 3 amazing, smart college basketball minds, all buying the hype of Purdue. Why? Why are you setting yourself up? Why are you buying into the trap of what has been every year? Really good regular season, hype going into the tournament, and then flopping once you get in there. I have not seen anything from Purdue that they have, to me at least, have showed that they are different. I think part of it is just their play style. That's who they are. It's not conducive for postseason success. And that's why they've gotten picked off in years. And I don't really see that much of a difference when it comes to this Purdue team versus previous Purdue teams. They've had experience before. They have had talented big men, and it's resulted in a whole lot of nothing. Jason's calling from Pittsburgh. What up, Jason?
Well, thank you for taking a call. Love your show.
Thanks, man. What's on your mind?
Wanted to give you a call, and the Purdue, so I think that Big Ten is so overrated, every year. Then they get into the tournament. In the last 10 years, they've had 4, first-round exits. They've had 3 round of 16 exits. They cannot advance any further. They're not going to win a national title. If you shut down their big man, make the other guys score, they're not going to win. I wanted to discuss, usually every year I know there are teams that they have a gripe about not getting in. This year, I truly can't understand how Pitt did not get in, but they put in Virginia and Clemson and Michigan State. You just mentioned Michigan State, but those teams, Clemson has one good win against North Carolina. Then Virginia, Clemson lost to Boston College in the ACC tournament.
Yeah.
First round.
Jason, you're not wrong. And Virginia, I'm with you. I'm shocked. Again, I'm not going to sit here and waste your time and bore you about who got screwed off the bubble and who shouldn't have been in. The one team I would absolutely agree with you with that should not be in is Virginia. No way. I would have loved to see Indiana State selfishly get in over Virginia and put our boy Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, look it up if you don't know what I'm talking about, he would have been a March Madness legend. We were robbed of. I don't think Pitt wasn't, just by the numbers we know. They were not the first team out. I don't think that they were the team that got screwed the most. I would have loved to see Indiana State. I think they got screwed big time. I think that would have been a really fun story. But we're robbed. Virginia's one of those where I'm with you. You know what? You talk about lucky they won a national title. Tony Bennett, man. Tony Bennett better be kissing the ground every single day that he won a national championship. That just bought him 10 years. And you talk about a coach with the most pressure on him. Forget Matt Painter. Tony Bennett would be number 1 on that list if he did not win in 2019. Virginia just backslid. They play the least exciting brand of basketball. Not that that should matter in terms of whether you are tournament eligible or not, but my goodness. It is, I think I'd rather watch paint dry. I think I'd rather sit there on a sidewalk in the pouring rain and 30 degrees watching the wall in front of me dry for 3 hours than have to watch Virginia attempt to put the ball in the basket. Offensively, it is the hardest thing I've ever had to watch. That's been that way for a while. They are backsliding now since winning that national title. Tony Bennett, yeah, very, very lucky. He won that championship, that's for sure. The Heat would be big time. Big time on him. That'll do it for this edition of the show of Hick at Night right here on CBS Sports Radio. A huge thank you to Ryan Bosher, doing a tremendous job producing tonight. A huge thank you to you for joining us right here on this St. Patrick's Day and Selection Sunday. Don't go anywhere. Amy Lawrence is up next. If you miss any part of the show, Hick at Night podcast, Night spelled Nite. Also on YouTube, Ryan Hickey. Have a great rest of your week. We'll talk to you next week right here on CBS Sports Radio.